everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 47. I am your host. With me, as always, my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Loki.
Loki. Oh, you're watching that show?
Yeah.
You have become a major Marvel fan within the last
3
month
weeks.
or so. 3 weeks?
Not
Gone
ish,
from zero
yeah.
to everything, basically.
Yeah, I watched 11 movies in 4 days a couple weeks ago, and then
That's gross.
new show and other show that's not new, well, sort of new,
Yeah.
and Bad Batch. Still no Crosshair.
Yeah, and where we're living in southern Ontario, we actually had some COVID restrictions lifted a couple days early.
And I
so
bought Crosshair.
that's what I was about to say. You were actually able to go into a Walmart and not just the grocery section, right? So
Right.
you could go into other areas of the store. So he did find his favorite Bad Batch, which is the new show, Star Wars related. His favorite character. They happened to have that figure in the
Yeah,
store.
they had 2 of Hunter as well, but
So I think your mom actually grabbed it for you, right? To be nice, because she's been not
Yeah.
shopping during
I
pandemic.
I noticed that, and so when she was paying, I noticed the stickers she got for Nate are $2 each.
Yeah,
And
she
like,
got enough to equal the value of the figure, so you had a feeling.
yeah,
She was feeling generous.
right,
That's nice.
yeah.
So yeah, we've had some restrictions lifted, which is nice. Hopefully we can keep lifting more of them as we carry on. But recovering from another late night last night, right, of watching AEW Dynamite on the Friday night 10 o'clock slot. Not my favorite.
I don't appreciate it.
No, talking to your mic, man. You're turning your head away. There
Oh.
you go. So yeah, you slept in a bit. I slept in a bit, and we decided to come down a bit early and hammer out the first half of the podcast before lunch again. Not that anyone really needs to know our schedule, because they won't notice when they're listening. It'll all be seamless. But yeah, so welcome back if you're a regular listener, or welcome if you're a new listener. We're going to get into talking about some wrestling in just a little bit. I wanted to remind you that I did put out my ROH solo mission episode 507 of ROH. I talked about on Monday, as I have been lately. And if you'd like to contact us with any sort of feedback, we'd love to hear from you. fnswrestling@gmail.com. FNS_wrestling_podcast on Instagram. Or if you're one of the very few who find us on YouTube, you can leave a comment there and I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So anything exciting happened to you this week other than, bless you, some restrictions lifted?
No, did you talk about your new friend?
Oh, no, I don't want to talk about
Mhm.
that. Maybe in the future. I reached out to somebody who, well, I guess we can say, the John Report, right?
Yeah, because we do use some of his stuff if we just like if we don't feel like taking notes.
Right. Sometimes we're exhausted, or there's a match we just really want to see. So then we'll borrow somebody else's notes, and his have been one that we borrow. So turns out he's a Canadian guy, and I'm just in this sort of phase where I contact businesses or people to praise them, because I know that all people really ever hear is people complaining. So I just sent him a quick email to sort of let him know that we appreciate the work he does and that we use his notes, and that whenever we do, we actually give him credit, right? Like I think every time you've mentioned
Yeah, I
that you
always
took them
try
from
to.
John. So he replied back, and he's just a really nice guy. We've exchanged a whole bunch of emails now, and so yeah, really nice guy. So if you do need any written,
And you said like you're both kind of in the habit of, like you respond, right? Like
yes,
when you see it.
we're now in this like unending, because we like to respond to any emails we get. So now it's like this:
Right.
I'm gonna reply and then you reply.
Mm-hmm.
But seems like a really good guy. Actually lives where your mom went to university and stuff. So it's been cool, sort of emailing back and forth with him. So if you need any written reviews of wrestling and stuff, I'd recommend the John Report. He does a good job.
Right.
For me, it's because he does a little more analysis than some things do. He actually has a pretty good
I think it
opinion
was,
on things.
Last week I needed notes for the one match, and I don't think his were up yet, and
Yeah.
it was a struggle finding like
Better detailed ones.
Another
He does more
good one.
details in the actual action, and then because some of the reviews I read online, eventually I try not to before we podcast, but sometimes I'll look through things after. But it's like really solid match, both got a chance to shine, and then that's their analysis, right? Whereas John will go a little bit deeper into things, I
Right.
find. So
yeah.
so that's been kind of fun for me, just emailing back and forth. But I don't know, we got 2 weeks of school left. This week of school was pretty easy.
Yes, other than my arm.
Other than, oh yeah, you got your shot, so your arm was really sore for a couple days.
Tuesday was awful.
Yes, yeah, you were really hurt. Yeah, mine was really sore the day after too, but then the second day it kind of goes away, and now you're all good. You're
Yeah.
half vaxxed like me. Nice.
Right.
So just waiting on second dose. Supposed to be a 2-dose summer here in Canada, they're telling us. And actually our vaccination rates are phenomenal right now. Apparently Canada's percentage of people with 1 dose or at least is really, really high, I think. So that's cool. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe time to talk about some wrestling. What do you think?
No.
You just want to keep bantering for 2 hours and see how long people listen?
Yeah.
Probably not too long.
We'll see how long people who probably tuned in to watch wrestling don't get wrestling.
Don't get wrestling. See how long you can hang on.
Right.
But I think we should probably transition into talking some
Yeah.
wrestling. And our first section that we'll discuss is going to be news and rumors. Okay, so ratings are a pain right now because of AEW moving their nights. So,
Yeah,
since
it's gonna
last
be
night's
even worse next week.
I know. So last night's Dynamite ratings obviously aren't in yet. So we're talking about last week's ratings, which I didn't have then, but do have now, if that makes sense to you. So I'm talking about last Friday's episode that came after Double or Nothing, right? Featuring Mark Henry showing up and Dustin Rose defeating Nick Comoroto in the bull rope match.
An amazing bull rope
Right,
match.
greatest main event of all time. So that's the one I'm talking about. It drew 462,000 viewers on TNT, which is down 12.7% and a really low number. Drew a 0.19 in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is down 5%. It's the lowest rating in the demo in the show's history. So I mean, clearly the Friday night time slot is not good for AEW. And it seems to be like further evidence that moving the show to TBS is actually going to be a good thing.
Right.
Because they will not have to compete with live sports there.
Right, and we won't have to they're on Friday, they're on Wednesday.
Friday for 3 weeks, then Saturday, then back to
Right.
Wednesday, right? So all of that should go away when they transition to TBS.
Right.
I do have this week's NXT ratings. It was 669,000 viewers, which is virtually the same as last week. It's up 1,000 viewers, and they scored a 0.20 in the key demographic, which is almost the same as well. It was a 0.19 last week. So a tiny, tiny uptick in ratings for NXT. And I guess technically they're quote-unquote winning because they have more viewers and things, but I mean, we talked about it. Moving to Friday night at 10 from Wednesday night at 8 is a very different time slot.
8's the standard start time-ish, right?
Yeah, and 10 o'clock is really late for a lot of people, especially we've talked about Fridays. People have lives. There's certain areas of North America where they can go do stuff, so they do stuff, and they're less likely to hang out. And anyone recording it, right, those ratings don't get picked up in these. They're sort of, I forget what they're called. They're included in some other ratings, but not the main ones.
Right.
Anyways, do you have any news stories for us?
So after suffering an injury at his debut at Double or Nothing, Leo Rush is retiring.
Yeah, do you know what the injury was?
No, I don't think it was mainly because of the injury, but I think.
Oh, it wasn't? It was just time to retire?
I think he just kind of wanted to, I guess.
Interesting.
I think that's really odd. But
yeah, I didn't hear what the injury was or anything.
I forget. I read a thingy, but I forget.
Yeah, so that's too bad because he's a really talented performer. I mean, he's obviously tiny, but I don't think that really matters. He's really fun to watch. He's so quick. So that's too bad. I mean, wrestling retirements, right? So who knows? He could be back in a month, a year, 2 years, never. It sort of depends, but you kind of have to take wrestling retirements with a grain of salt generally.
Yep.
I have one that I guess would be more under the Rumours umbrella, and that is that Aleister Black reportedly expected to sign with AEW.
Hell yeah.
It's not a done deal from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, but the strong belief is that he will be signing with AEW. He is under his standard 90-day no-compete clause with WWE, so he wouldn't be able to sign with anyone else until August 31st, it looks like. But even though I'm the guy who's saying AEW needs to slow down on the signings and et cetera, he's another guy.
I would prefer this to Andrade.
Wow, that's mean. I would make room for this guy. I think it's one of the classic. He was underused in WWE and has massive potential. Like they didn't even scratch the surface of what Aleister Black could be. I don't think.
Apparently,
or Tommy
Murphy's
End, I guess.
really popular on the indies too. Like a lot of they're looking to book Murphy. Get Murphy in AEW.
So I think Aleister Black's a stronger character than Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's amazing in the ring,
even
but
more underutilized.
I don't find him that interesting as a character. As a wrestler, awesome. As a character, not sure. I mean, maybe he just hasn't had a chance or anything. I don't know. But anyways, we'll see.
That is probably what it is.
What else do you have?
Camille is the new NWA Women's World Champ after she beat Serena Deeb on their horribly named When Our Shadows Fall pay-per-view.
Yeah, I actually watched...
Which I think was last weekend.
I watched Power this week. I checked it out and I saw that Camille had the belt. And I think it's interesting because Deeb's like a babyface there, and she was just a heel in AEW. So it's interesting to like.
I don't know if she was heel, but
she
was more
pretty
aggressive.
heel in the opener against Riho. You didn't see it,
right?
Yeah, she worked pretty heel there right off the bat. Like I think slapping her and stuff right away. Yeah. So the next one I had was NXT Takeover in Your House is set to have fans ready.
Yes.
Yeah, but don't get too excited. You know how many fans?
Little fans.
300 plus, so not too many, but it's better than nothing, right? So this will be the largest attendance at an NXT show since the beginning of the pandemic at 300 people. So we'll get a little bit more than just the wrestlers there cheering and stuff, I guess, but it won't be like...
I think there is actual people there right now, just like not a ton.
I don't know. I think they might all be WWE people by the sounds of it.
They look like they're people and they're wearing masks and stuff.
Could be. I don't know, but all I'm saying is this will be the largest attendance. So 300 people is not many, but... Yeah, I think this will
be more than at least like what's currently.
So maybe we'll get a tiny bit of an organic reaction to things, but still probably a lot of the wrestlers there too.
Right.
What else do you have?
Shingo Takagi wins the vacant IWGP title at the New Japan's Dominion event. He beat Okada.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of Shingo. I like him.
After Ospreay had to vacate.
Yeah, Shingo's really good, and he's become a big deal in New Japan. When I stopped watching, I saw a little bit of him, but I haven't seen as much as I have of some other people. So I'm hoping New Japan picks back up because it's apparently not a fantastic product right now, and they had another COVID issue to deal with. So, I mean, it's generally, we talk about it being maybe the best
I think
promotion
they're doing
in the world,
because Jay White is a champion right now.
They're in a bit of a downswing right now, but the only other thing I have is that a recent change in sort of WWE procedures, now released talent from WWE can no longer sign autographs with their old WWE names. This is again reported by Meltzer that it's just a new addition to contract, states that talent not under contract can no longer use WWE names.
Which, as much as that sucks, it does kind of make sense, actually.
I agree. I said it's more control by Vince, but it kind of makes sense, especially if he's the one that, or not he, but the company created the name or whatever, developed the persona.
Like, if it's someone like Adam Cole, obviously you could use that, because he was Adam Cole long before.
Right.
But, like, someone like... like Braun Strowman.
Right, he's not using that.
Right.
And it takes away a bit of a revenue stream for these guys, I guess, because...
That's what people know them as?
A lot of fans aren't going to want their actual name or their indie name or whatever, right? Because it's not, I don't know. It might not matter much, but I'm sure it matters a little bit to some of them who really, that's all they're known for. Like Braun Strowman, he's never been anywhere else doing anything else, right? So if he signs his regular name, which I won't say because it might be a spoiler for something later, it might not mean much if he just signs his regular name. Mm-hmm. But anyways, anything else? I'm done for news. I'm going to drink coffee while you news me.
The draft is going to return this year shortly after SummerSlam again.
The most meaningless, pointless thing that just makes me angry because they're all mixing back on the same shows in 2 weeks after the draft anyways. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Hell in a Cell update. So McIntyre and Lashley is going to be in Hell in a Cell, which despite it not being the best feud, it's at least been kind of going on for a while, so you could argue it warrants the stipulation.
It's definitely been a lengthy feud, right? So I don't know if it's been like, for me, if it's been bitter and whatever enough to be in Hell in a Cell, but at least it's been like
a feud.
Yeah,
that's established.
Exactly, if that's the word, it's an established feud for sure.
And Roman Reigns is defending the Universal title against Rey Mysterio
in Hell in a Cell, right?
Yeah.
So there's the kind of flip side where, not that I'm watching the product, but I don't.
This was like established like last week.
Oh, okay. Feud. So this is the opposite of a lengthy bitter feud.
The Usos were challenging the Mysterios for the tag titles, and Roman. I think the match got restarted because of some pin shenanigan.
Right.
And then Roman obliterated the Mysterios.
So it's kind of the opposite of what we were just saying. This is not established, freshly established.
Right.
But this is what we said. This is what Hell in a Cell making it a pay-per-view does.
I would have loved Usos versus Mysterios in Hell in a Cell.
If you'd backed it up and been building it for a while.
Well,
right?
And I just want another tag Hell in a Cell. The last tag Hell in a Cell was awesome.
It's true. We enjoyed it quite a bit. There was some innovative stuff, I think, with Ken. Is that where they trapped him to the cage?
They had like the
kendo
stick cage, yeah.
Yeah, that was. I actually remember that, so it must have been decent because not much sticks out to me. But yeah, it's what we were saying, right?
I think that was the last year before the Red Cell.
you schedule this Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in June, and then you suddenly, or whenever it is, July? Is it in July? June,
Yep.
then you have to sort
I
of
think it's because this weekend is Takeover,
right.
and then I think next weekend is Hayak.
So either you have to like be planning well in advance, which we know is not WWE's forte, or at least if they plan in advance, there's a chance it's getting changed at the last second, right? I shouldn't say they don't plan in advance because some of them probably try to. It's just that it gets changed by somebody right before it's supposed to happen.
Who's
So when that
maybe
happens,
old.
it leaves you with
Quickly.
putting like stuff that I don't think belongs in a cell, but that's
right,
what's going to happen.
Like this.
Like this. Exhibit A, Your
Although
Honor.
it's a worse feud, I would argue like Ripley versus Charlotte could
At least
warrant Hell in a Cell.
you can at least even go back a year into their history, right? From Mania, not this year, the previous.
Right, and even like from Mania this year, at least. Like, well, they didn't face off, but like it's kind of been, you know what I mean.
And WWE's production is amazing, so they could throw together some sort of package, vignette, whatever that would convince me. You know what I mean? I think they could, but yeah, I don't know. I question those decisions, but let's be honest, we're gonna watch it anyways.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it the next month. We got Money in the Bank.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well.
Yes.
To me, that's in my own mind, I've moved Survivor Series out of the Big Four, and Money in the Bank has taken that spot for me, right? Of the big
Survivor Series
pay-per-views.
is probably the worst one.
Survivor Series is a giant waste of time now. It feels like
Royal Rumble's got the Royal
it's
Rumble.
always fun, right?
WrestleMania is undoubtedly the biggest show,
right?
And SummerSlam's kind of like a slightly lesser WrestleMania.
I agree. It's like the Summer Mania kind of.
Survivor Series is
nothing
lots
anymore.
of people fighting each other for basically no reason.
Yeah, and it used to be kind of interesting because of the teams and just seeing the structure, and they'd have a captain and all that. But now it's, I don't know, it hasn't done much for me in a while.
It would be better as like it's a feud.
Yeah, I think
deal,
so too.
Right.
Yep. Any other news from you?
Kylie Ray signs at the NWA.
Yes, I saw that. I'm happy for her. It means mental health is strong right now, I'm guessing, which is great for her. Plus, she's just a super cool talent that I really didn't know much about. And then we started this podcast, and she was in Impact at that point, right? And I thought she was fantastic. So that's a good signing for them. And I hope that she, is able to perform, and she's a really good talent. So that's a nice pickup for them, I think.
And SummerSlam 2021 is to take place on Saturday, August 21st in Las Vegas in Allegiant Stadium.
I do like the Saturday just
selfishly,
but I don't know if it matters much.
I think it's because they were avoiding clashing with something. I don't know exactly.
That makes sense. I wonder if there's like MMA or something. That's
something. I forget.
Or boxing could be.
Yeah. I forget what it was exactly, but yeah, there is something.
So I'm okay with it being on a Saturday. I prefer it. I don't know. It just feels like you have all Sunday to recover if it goes late.
And AEW Double or Nothing 2021 did 115,000 buys. Second biggest AEW pay-per-view.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you, do you know if that's good or not? But if that's their second
which
highest,
I think was right after Revolution, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And man, it was a really good show, right? Like
This one was good, yeah.
Really good show. So that's good. I'm happy. If they're happy with that number, then that's a good thing going forward.
Right.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. So let's move into talking about our first in-depth review every week. That is NXT, and that is mostly me. So let's do that now. So the show this week starts with a recap of Adam Cole breaking up the number one contenders match the week before, and the subsequent in-ring promo segment he had with Karrion Kross later. It basically led to Kross asking for all of the contenders in one match, which is setting up that fatal 5-way match for Takeover in your house.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like Cole just kind of manipulated Kross right into getting a title shot out of nowhere. We talked about that last week.
Kross does seem pretty stupid.
They also run down what I am calling the not so impressive card for the In Your House pay-per-view. Just by Takeover standards, and maybe we'll run down the card a bit later, it does not feel like a major pay-per-view, like a major Takeover to me. There's nothing I'm super pumped for. The 5-way will be fun.
I'm pumped for the 5-way.
Yeah.
And the 6-man tag looks pretty good. Oh, wait.
But anyways, we'll talk about probably some of that card a bit later.
And other
things. The Ways music then plays, and the show kicks off with Austin Theory versus Oney Lorcan. We are shown a WWE exclusive. Again, they don't know what exclusive means. Where earlier in the day, Dunn and Lorcan
It's an exclusive clip that they're just allowing us to view here.
It was originally exclusive, and now it's everywhere.
Semi-exclusive.
Right. So it was Dunn and Lorcan. They had to be separated from Gargano and Theory backstage by security. So just, again, There's clearly tension between these people, just reminding us. So we get a nice drop kick from Theory. He takes control of the match early. Then there's a forearm exchange after some of the standard holds and counters. Lorcan is working Theory's leg on the mat until Theory fires up, hits a slingshot stomp and a suplex. Lorcan lands some slaps and stomps and a back elbow. We get a knee lift that sends Theory to the floor. Theory is tripped on the apron, lands hard as Pete Dunne now is sort of slowly walking out, heading into a commercial. Back from a commercial, uppercut by Lorcan, and Gargano has evened the odds by coming out to ringside as well. We get a blockbuster by Theory. Theory runs Lorcan into the barricade, lands a fallaway slam in the ring. Springboard Spanish fly, I think it was, off the top by Theory.
Oh, yeah,
like a split-legged Spanish
like he
fly.
kind of like sat down on. He ran up, kind of like sat down on the ropes, and then like bounced off to hit the Spanish fly.
Yeah, it was really cool, I thought. Double clothesline, both men are down. Gargano and Dunn sort of come over and they start to brawl. The refs come over to break them up on the outside. Then Theory is sort of watching this commotion as it's happening on the ramp. Lorcan runs.
He's the global.
He is.
Face?
That right? Like the dumb baby face? Question mark.
The dumb person in the match.
The less heel. The dumb less heel. I
Yes,
guess.
yeah.
Lorcan runs Theory's head into the ring post, hits a half Nelson slam for a somewhat surprising win, to me at least. Gargano then...
I find Lorcan never wins with a clear-cut like finisher, and I don't know, his moves aren't bad, but like they don't really feel like impactful
I don't know what
enough
his
to
finisher
finish.
is, to be honest. Right. Gargano consoles Theory after the match in the ring, and I have a note here, are they baby faces now? Is that kind of what this felt like, right? I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. They're kind of just like maybe toning it down given the circumstances, maybe.
It seems. What did you think of this opener?
I thought it was a good opener, but it didn't really have much to it other than these guys were arguing that the guy they support would have hypothetically won the match last week.
You're right. That was like, no, my friend would have won the match if it wasn't interrupted.
It was a good enough match, but storyline-wise, not great. And Theory's Spanish Fly, I think, was the highlight.
I agree. I wasn't a huge fan of this. I thought it started really slowly and was basic at the beginning. The Gargano Dunn arrival felt inevitable, right? Like that's just where this was going. Theory did get to showcase a few cool things like that Spanish Fly. I agree. I wasn't really into this match at all for some reason. The distraction finish didn't help either, I don't think.
Yeah.
I just felt like I've seen both of these guys do better than this. I don't think it was
bad.
But
I don't think it was necessarily bad.
I just wasn't into it, to be honest. We then get a LA Knight segment where he is in a mansion, trying to convince DiBiase to choose him for whatever exactly.
What I wrote was like showing he's rich, I guess, like also rich.
Yeah, so they're basically, because DiBiase, I don't know, it's a combination of having money and in-ring ability, although he a couple weeks ago said it wasn't about having money, that it was about in-ring ability, but now they're still appealing to trying to convince him by showing they have money, so there's a bit of a disconnect for me. But anyways, he wants DiBiase to choose him for whatever exactly this undefined legacy is that's never been told to us. They're competing for his attention, but we don't know why. At least I don't feel like I know why. Anyways, he has women and hot tubs, and he talks about beating Grimes, and he laughs kind of like DiBiase does. He later shows off his Mercedes, says he can carry on the $1 Million Man's legacy. What did you think? Sorry, I'll let you talk first.
This is okay, not great. I didn't really like it because there wasn't like much. It was just like, haha, I'm rich like you.
I laugh like you.
It was, no.
I just put there's nothing wrong with it, I guess. I'm just not clear on what they get if DiBiase chooses them. I'm still not interested in what's going on here. But I mean, to be fair, Knight's a really confident performer, right? So he, I guess he did a good job here. It's just not a segment that really I'm interested in.
Yeah.
We then flash back to the past, I guess, with Doc Hendricks doing a promo for In Your House, and he runs down the card again. I put Ask Jack because I didn't feel like writing down the card. Do you know what it is offhand?
5-way.
Right.
Lee Martinez.
Oh, right.
You
don't know. Well, we'll come back to it later. I just didn't feel like writing it all out. The $1 Million, which there's
match.
More details of that coming up, right?
Right. I don't remember exactly.
That's okay. So it's sort of done in a retro style, and I just thought he was as obnoxious as he ever was. Still has the same energy he did. It just was annoying then.
It feels out of place in this era.
It does, right? So it was still annoying to me. Legado del Fantasma are in the ring, and Escobar is going to speak. He says he'll make Bronson Reed pay for getting involved and costing his tag team the titles. Reed comes out. and has the highlight of him squashing Escobar against the cage from last week replayed on the
Which
screen.
I didn't think was the biggest babyface move. Like,
I have a note of that coming up. I agree with you.
oh, and I forgot before this, there's like an ad for the WWE Live tour, so like kind of that confirmed.
They're going back on tour, right? So does that imply house shows then too?
Yeah, no, they had the actual WWE Live.
Oh, nice.
Shows like this. I think that's the actual confirmation.
I like house shows. They're fun and they're affordable. So it did look cool where Reed squashed him against the cage, and he replays it several times here just to get under Escobar's skin, I guess. Escobar then challenges Reed to come to the ring. Reed accepts. MSK's music hits, and they join Reed as Escobar and Legado sort of leave the ring as now the numbers are even, and that's obviously not what the heels are looking for. They're looking for that numbers advantage. Escobar speaks from the floor, suggests a 6-man match at Takeover for all of the gold, which is kind of a cool stipulation.
Right, because you don't get that often.
No, not often at all.
And this is my theory to as why like we have like Lee and Martinez on the show, like
right.
which just feels like a not Takeover match because they're kind of smushing together 2 title matches here.
They are.
Right, so you're kind of taking away one
and making room for that barn burner of a Lee and Martinez match, I guess.
Like, they're not bad, but it's just like it's missing what you would expect from Takeover.
I agree.
I think it would be good on TV, right? Agree. It just doesn't fit into.
They just haven't built Xia Li to this point yet. They've tried with Martinez, right? They put her in a main event.
They even were building Lee a bit, and then they just completely halted it.
And then sort of started again.
Right.
The whole part with Catanzaro and Carter.
Yeah.
That's where I think they realized this isn't
that kind of drove off a cliff.
I think so too. So anyways, they're going to fight for all of the gold. Reed, MSK accept and ask for more replays of Escobar getting squashed. So then Hit Row come out. And this is, again, where NXT's sort of bleeding segments into one another. And I kind of enjoy it.
Which I think it's kind of cool because it's like it just can... I don't know, it has like, it keeps the show having a nice flow. It just feels like
it does.
I don't know, something, but it works.
You can like have small little moments that you go back to later if you're clever in your writing, right? Like maybe there's a little
which
look
NXT seems to be a little more clever than the rest of WWE's booking.
So Hit Row come out. They basically walk by Legado, barely acknowledging them, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, they kind of like look at them quick and then just kind of chuckle and walk off.
So what did you think of the promo here?
I liked it. It was decent. And this is for sure a Takeover worthy match. It's like it's a double title match, winner take all, that sort of deal. So this looks really good.
And guys that have been pushed and built.
Right, and I think I enjoy everyone in that match to a degree in the ring. So I think
Reed's winning you over a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I thought Escobar's promo was kind of basic, but it was fine. And as Jack, you pointed out while we were watching, right, the heel-face dynamic seemed a little bit off because Reed came off as the bully here, right?
Right, because obviously Escobar's the heel, obviously. Yeah. But, like,
in this situation,
Reed felt like I feel like after the Takeover, after NXT when he won the title, I mean, you're like, they're really pushing him as like the babyface, and they were, right? And now just this feels like there's a disconnect between this and the week after he won the title.
Yeah, because it was all follow your dreams. I'm proof that after 14 years, you know what I mean? Just keep working hard. And now
there's a clear disconnect between this and that.
Now he's bullying Escobar because Escobar's the victim in this, right? Basically.
Whether you're supposed to feel bad for him or not, he is.
But it sets up an interesting match, and Hit Row coming out and striking their pose and going about their business. Basically, like the 2 other groups weren't even there until they acknowledge them at the very end.
The other groups don't matter.
I really like that, right? Like, you guys are sort of taking up our time. We're just going to go about our business whether you're here or not. So I thought that was a cool little detail for Hit Row. So then the reason Hit Row came out is because the next match is Swerve Scott with his Hit Row with him versus Killian Dane, who has Drake Maverick there as well. So we get wrist control shoulder tackles by Killian Dane early after a few holds and counters. Slaps by Swerve before he sort of escapes to the floor. Top Dollar distracts Dane first. Swerve attacks from behind, but eventually gets dropped by a Dane clothesline. B-Fab then distracts Dane a little bit later. Swerve attacks with a trip and a couple kicks, including a running punt, which from the apron that looked pretty cool. We get a bit of mat work by Swerve back in the ring before some strikes just fire up Dane, and he sort of takes control for a little bit. Swerve has an acrobatic escape a bit later, but gets caught by a nice divide, the sort of running crossbody that Dane has as a signature. There's some more cool escapes by Swerve. He's just a really athletic guy. And a flatliner before he hits the house call for a 2 count, which I thought was a really nice sequence. We basically see a wasteland and a senton by Dane.
Wade slam.
Yeah, right. But then Theodonis gets his chance to interfere, but gets taken out by Drake, who kind of flies in out of nowhere. And then Drake in turn gets taken out by Top Dollar with, I think, was a DVD onto the apron.
Yeah.
Which all of these moves onto the apron, there was just another one I saw. They do not look as impactful as in theory.
Like a DVD, it kind of gets part of its impact from like you're kind of like coming down and just like slamming.
Right, and you're not coming down much. You're coming down like a few inches
you
land.
You're almost not coming down.
Right, it feels like it'd almost be less impact. But anyways, I get the in theory it sounds awesome.
Like when you apron powerbomb, you've already got them high, kind of above the apron.
You're right.
And you're slamming, and you're able to slam them harder. I think if like they had done something like that, or like but just it's one of those moves where like unless they were standing on the apron, because then it'd basically be like doing it in the ring.
The same drop.
Then it doesn't really work on the apron.
Right. Dane climbs the top to yell at Top Dollar, and Swerve kicks his legs out from under him, and then lands a nice running kick to the face to pick up the win here. What did you think?
I like this. This was a decent TV match. It was kind of short, but it was good. Credible win for Swerve, which I like.
Yeah,
although I find it odd that given he's more cruiserweight that he didn't face Maverick.
Right.
But
maybe they're trying to distance him from that idea because he's better than that now. Right.
That's true. An interesting match I think would be Dane and Maverick versus Adonis and Top Dollar because they're very similar big man, little man teams.
That would be fun, actually.
Swerve looked good, and I hope that he starts to push for the North American title after Takeover.
Me too.
I think if they really wanted to do another one as winner take all, you could do Hit Row versus Reed and MSK because I assume they would win.
I have heard nothing but positivity about this group, and we agree, right? Like everything they do right now is cool, so they need to just keep focusing on. I like this match a lot, actually. I thought the heel group, every member of the group interfered, right? Swerve looked good, some cool offense, some really acrobatic escapes. I love the house call
kick. It looks cool when he hits it right.
And I thought it keeps Dane kind of looking strong because it took multiple people interfering for him to lose, right?
Right.
So it makes sense. Hit Row as a heel faction, they're going to cheat. And it kind of makes Dane look not so weak because he got 3 different people interfering before he took the loss.
One of which who hit is a giant person.
Right. So I thought this was a good start for Hit Row. And in general, Swerve is just really fun to watch. I think he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We then get Poppy. Here's a thread through this show that I wasn't a super fan of. She's shown walking through the halls at NXT, but not everyone is happy to see her. Mackenzie talks to Candice and Indy about Poppy again, like she did last week.
Who cares?
Candice didn't like this last week, so she doesn't like it again. She's annoyed that this is what Mackenzie wants to talk about when she has the NXT Women's Tag Champs right there.
Right, and that is kind of disrespectful. They're the tag team champions. That is, I mean...
I literally have brackets, fair point.
Regardless if these belts really matter or not, they're the tag champs, so...
And never do the interviewers, whatever, backstage people talk about random stuff like this. Like, it feels really forced to me.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Like, it's very contrived that we're going to talk about Poppy in 2 of your backstage interviews.
You don't like Poppy? We're going to talk about Poppy.
When we don't talk about random things with anyways.
Right. Not only do they never do that, but they're also doing it when she specifically doesn't like it.
Right. She last week already said, I don't want you to do this. So Indy says she heard that Loomis shed a tear over her last week and that he might still love her, and she runs off
Where would she
excitedly.
have heard that?
I don't know if she watched the show, I guess. She could have somebody watched the show.
And they're like, hey, Indy, he's crying over you.
And she's like, yeah, he loves me. What did you think of this?
No.
I thought it was basically the same segment as last week. Except Indy did slightly more, right? Last week she just looked mopey with the headphones on.
Oh, right, yeah.
And this week she actually says stuff. So I already wasn't a fan of this angle, as if you listen to this show, you know. So I don't need it.
If you didn't know, now you know.
I don't need it to become repetitive on top of it all, right? So
it feels like a worse version of when they kept repeating the Jade Cargill segment on Dynamite, where she's like,
that was 3 or 4 weeks, and it's still kind of lingering a little bit.
And I think this is worse though.
Yeah, this was
oddly.
It felt like take 2 of last week's segment.
Right, I think this is the 3rd week in a row that Poppy's been mentioned, and Candice is like, nah.
So not my favorite stuff. Then there is a Cameron Grimes video that's basically, I guess, a rebuttal to LA Knights earlier in the night. So he's also
earlier in the night
in a mansion. Oh yeah, I did. What a punster I am, eh? So he's in a mansion too. He cannonballs into a pool, and then he basically cuts the majority of this promo in the pool with like his sort of arms up on the edge, and it's like between a girl's legs. She's kind of standing poolside, right? And you just see her legs.
Right.
So framing his sort of shot, which was interesting. He talks about DiBiase's choice as well, and then it cuts to him lighting a cigar with $100 bill, drinking scotch, not really enjoying it, getting a massage, looking like he's not really enjoying it. Then he's in the car and in his fancy car, saying he'll focus on the $1 million legacy and take it to the moon. What did you think of this?
Again, these videos aren't great because I don't know the point, but I think Grimes is much better at it. He's more entertaining. I think he works much better with this whole character.
Yeah,
like,
I thought
his was funnier than
I haven't loved a lot of this. I love Grimes, don't get me wrong. I haven't loved a lot of the stuff he's been doing with DiBiase, but this made me laugh because it's him trying to show how wealthy and high class he is.
He doesn't
but
like.
He doesn't actually
stuff.
like any. Like doesn't like smoking the cigar. Doesn't like the scotch. Doesn't.
Which I think was good because that made it kind of funny and like a little more enjoyable than like, hey, I'm rich and I want to be $1 million man.
It's like he's new money, right? He's suddenly all rich, and all of these things that he thinks he should be doing to exemplify being a rich person,
he doesn't like, and he's not used to.
Right. So I thought that was funny, and he does a good job, man. He performs his butt off in any role you give him. So I actually thought this was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes Martinez starts to make her
Much
entrance.
Better than the other one.
I thought so too. She makes her entrance, but is attacked from behind by Xia Li. Li lands several kicks before rolling Martinez into the ring. Martinez eventually fights back, throws Li over the barricade, and she still wants her match against the mystery jobber whose names I never got.
I wrote Mercedes Martinez versus Jobber. So yeah, I don't think they ever gave it.
So despite the pre-match attack, Martinez still wants to go through with the match. She demands the bell ring. It does. She hits a high knee right away, and then basically her air raid crash and pins the mystery opponent in like 40 seconds or something. What did you think?
Quick squash made Martinez look really strong, almost too strong. It's one of those things. And I still don't buy this as a takeover match. I don't care.
Right. Yeah, it's just a simple way to build this with the pre-match attack and Martinez being the resilient babyface battling through and winning the match anyways. She did look strong with the squash win right away. But like you said earlier, this feels like a TV feud at best to me. Mm-hmm. And I mean, hey, maybe they blow us away at the pay-per-view. Martinez
that's good.
Is a strong veteran worker. She might be able to pull Xia Li to a really good match, and almost, I guess that's almost smart if you think about it, because if the expectations are really low, then
the match will look better as a result.
Right, so let's hope. We then get Breezango there with Mackenzie, and they want to know why Walter is so angry from, I guess, his iPad promo to Imperium.
iPad promo.
Right? To Imperium last week.
That's fine.
So without getting specific, they kind of make fun of the members of Imperium, then say that Imperium seem to have an issue.
Because they're serious.
Yes, so serious now. If Imperium seem to have an issue with them, if Walter wants his team to beat Breezango, then he's just going to be disappointed again. I don't know. What did you think? I just didn't have much to say about this.
Fine. I wrote meh. I just hope they don't tell us that Breezango are serious again, because they weren't and aren't.
No, this was just, it was short and inoffensive. I said it was fine. It's basically, I imagine, it's to build up Imperium to be a little bit more, I don't know, recognizable, stronger. So I don't feel like Breezango's doing much here other than like experience enhancement talent. I'm not trying to be mean, but it feels like that's the role they're in here, right?
Yeah.
Is we need to get Imperium back on the map, especially if Walter's going to come. So that's what seems to be happening here.
Walter just destroys both of them.
Yeah, please. I need more Walter in my life.
That'd be a funny handicap match.
It would. Walter, yeah, against him. It would. The $1 Million Man is then shown walking backstage as his decision will be next. But it's not.
Priceless announcement, because they have to name it.
Because WWE said next, so that doesn't mean next. Because next, we get Regal and Triple H are backstage sucking up to Poppy. This was, I don't know. Triple H asks when the album is going to drop. Poppy grabs her phone and says, right now. She pushes a button, and the album is out.
Right,
And Triple H goes out of his way to clarify this for
I
everyone.
basically I called this segment Triple H doesn't understand stuff with Poppy.
Well, he wants to make sure that everyone watching knows exactly what happened, so he
but
recaps
it's basically him not understanding.
So you have your album ready to go, and you can pick up your phone,
you
and
can
you
just
can
push
just
a-
push a
you
button,
can
and
use-
the album is now
you
available.
can just grab your phone and do a thing, and oh
Yeah.
my god, you're up. Like,
So Loomis approaches, gives Poppy a picture. I guess it was something he'd drawn, probably. I don't remember offhand.
because everyone must suck up to Poppy.
And she hugs him as Indy walks in. Talk about poor timing. She freaks out and runs away as Triple H says, "Little awkward."
Oh my god, Triple H was so bad here.
What? Talk about it.
I
What's your
hated
turn?
this. Triple H was so cringy. Wait, you can just drop an album with the click of your finger? No.
You can use your phone to not phone?
You can use your phone to just drop music.
There's buttons on your phone other than numbers?
And then everyone has to suck up to Poppy, the GM, the CFO, the Dexter Loomis, and then she's hugging Loomis, and then Triple H is like, little awkward. That sounds
So
like
bad.
if this were like a sitcom or whatever, it'd be like, ha, like with the laugh track.
I think
was
it's funny
so bad.
because we did not talk about this at all. I couldn't stand this either. The interaction between Triple H and Poppy,
It just made no sense.
it
either.
felt 100% main roster, right? If this is the payoff for all the Way Loomis stuff, then Poppy better get in the ring and wrestle, and she better be like the next Kurt Angle, basically.
She better be the next Io Shirai.
But we'll find out she's not. So I did not like this. This felt like a really forced
this is so
segment
stupid.
to do the album announcement,
It was
right?
so dumb.
Not a fan. We then get Grimes and LA Knight arriving at the building in their nice cars. They're sort of arguing outside and are told that DiBiase is waiting for them. So they head in while Grimes is giving tips and making fun of sort of the valets and the doormen along the way, which was
Oh yes, would you like to tell everyone your grand prediction for this segment?
my grand prediction.
Which didn't come to pass.
Oh, what was it that it was going to be? Didn't I talk about it last week?
No, you tell. Well,
It
yeah,
wasn't on the
somewhat,
show?
but like, no, because it was
I thought it was going to be Jake Atlas.
right, and like,
Because he's beaten both of them. I still think they should add
no,
him and
wasn't
make it a
yours, like,
three-way.
it was like more specific or whatever. It was like,
Refresh me.
I forget, but it was like Atlas. It was one of the valets, and like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like the new $1 million
That's
corporation or
Because
whatever.
DiBiase is shown with these two people with him. I don't know what they consider, whether they're like servants of his or whatever. So my theory was, because they're wearing like caps, so my theory was that one of them would be Jake Atlas, and that DiBiase is basically like leading Knight and Grimes to believe it would be one of them, and then he's basically like, but I already told you guys it's about in-ring ability, and somebody has beaten both of you
But
in the
Atlas
last
is the
couple weeks.
worst in ring ability of all of them.
And then Atlas is one of his people accompanying him and attacks them, and then we get heel Atlas managed by $1 Million Man, which might be better than what we got, in my opinion. But anyways, we'll get to that. So DiBiase calls Knight and Grimes into the ring for his announcement. Knight starts to enter, but Grimes' theme interrupts him, and he walks right past Knight
Which
to
was
the
pretty
ring,
awesome.
which was pretty funny. Once they're all in the ring, DiBiase speaks, says that it's time for them to literally climb the ladder to success, and we already immediately know where
gold
this
ladder comes
is going.
down.
And a solid gold ladder, they tell us.
Solid gold. WWE ladders are far from solid. They're like, they will
This one
snap.
is, though.
They will snap like a Kit Kat when someone goes through. Like, there's no chance in hell.
Snap like a Kit Kat.
No
Nice
chance in-
simile.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
No chance in hell that this ladder is solid.
So it's lowered
gold.
to the ring mysteriously. LA Knight is mad,
Mysteriously.
and he knows he's better than Grimes and everybody else. If he has to climb a ladder to prove it, then he will, and it's LA Knight's game. Grimes says he may be a hillbilly, but he's living on the hilltop and looking down at Knight. DiBiase said it wasn't all about money, but ability, and in this ring, nobody is better than Grimes. He wants to know what he'll be reaching for, and DiBiase is glad he asked.
And
like,
I
we
kind
all
of
don't
I knew
immediately
what
know.
this was.
As
But
soon as
I
he-
also not even that, but like I also heard a thing to make it even more obvious.
Yeah. Well, as soon as DiBiase says you're going to literally climb the ladder to success, I knew exactly what was happening here.
Right.
He has a briefcase brought in, and surprise, surprise, it has the $1 million belt
Right,
in it.
and so they had like a stand with like a tablecloth thingy on it.
Yes.
Right, it had mics. I thought the title was already there.
Right.
But so I thought it would just be a normal match for the title. The ladder match was probably the only part I didn't kind of see coming.
So the $1 million belt is the prize in this match at the pay-per-view. What did you think of this segment?
It was fine, I guess, but I figured this would be for the $1 million title because I heard something about it, them bringing it back.
Right.
Nothing great or terrible. And I guess the ladder match stipulation in the title, I guess it does help, justify its place on Takeover. I guess
I'm not trying to be mean, and I think it helps LA Knight because I don't know if he can hang with Grimes in a match. So the ladder adds just stuff he can do, right?
And I feel like just it does kind of, as much as this isn't the most interesting thing, it does help justify its place there at least.
Yes, I would prefer a ladder match. I'm more interested in a ladder match than a standard match, for sure. So it helps that in that way.
Especially when it's for a made-up title.
I do think that Grimes and Knight kind of have a funny dynamic together, but my concern is where is this going? Is this actually a belt going forward? Because I don't want it to be. We don't need another championship.
Is it like the FTW title?
I don't know. That's the thing. I worry about what's happening after this. I really want to like this story because I love Cameron Grimes especially, and DiBiase was one of my favorite because I was mid-card heel guy when I was young, right? So DiBiase was one of the guys I loved, but I just don't love this story. It seems like Grimes is the babyface here now. Again, I don't know. It seems like somebody has to be, right? And
I think it would have to be Grimes.
And
out
if
of the
there's
two.
if there's crowds, he's gonna get cheered for sure. I think, right?
Which Grimes is such a good heel, so that kind of sucks.
I know he's good at everything, to be honest.
Yeah.
Between this and the Loomis story tonight, there's a little bit too much silliness going on for me right at the beginning of this show, but I didn't hate this. We then get Cross and Kyle. They're now being broken up backstage as Regal is yelling "No more" at them.
Building up to the
backstage is getting to be as unsafe as the NXT parking lot, right?
That's true. It might give the parking lot a run for its money,
right? We then get Everrise. They announced that they will be hosting the pre-show for what's it called? In Your House.
The pre-show.
And they steal Hit Row's catchphrase here. I don't know. This was even more comedy.
Yeah, basically they're hosting the pre-show for a Takeover.
Oh, right. That's what it was. The pre-show of the pre-show. Yes. Right. So more comedy, but I do love these two, and it was 20 seconds, so I can forgive them. It's just a lot of comedy happening in this first hour, I guess it was. We then get back to a match.
This one was pretty harmless, though.
This is Grizzled Young Veterans versus, was it Austin Gray? I didn't write his first name.
August Gray and Ikemen Jiro.
Ikemen Jiro, who I watched make his debut on 205 Live, and I really liked him. He wrestles in a suit jacket the entire match, and I love it because he uses it to make punches. I find him quite entertaining, but anyways. So Gibson starts out against Gray, puts him in a front face lock, holds and counters until Gray hits a Rana off the ropes, locks in an armbar, tags in Jiro. Gibson takes him down by the hair. Jiro eventually lands an elbow. Gibson takes back control before going after Jiro's jacket, which you cannot do. He fires up, lands some strikes while holding the jacket that somehow they look good. I don't know how he does it. Gibson gets a tag finally. The heels double team Jiro and before knocking Gray from the apron to the floor. We then have a knee injury being sold and Drake continues to target it. Double body slam send Jiro's knee into the ropes. Drake comes in, hits a leg whip. Ciampa and Thatcher arrive with chairs and sit on the ramp to watch for a little bit. The Grizzled Young Veterans are obviously distracted, which allows Gray to make the hot tag for a little bit of a flurry there. Some punches to Drake, a jawbreaker to Gibson, bulldog to Drake, twisting crossbody to Drake, all by August Gray. Drake counters a Gray move with a slam and then tags in Gibson. And basically, they just hit their ticket to Mayhem finisher, and Grizzled Young Veterans win the match. Gibson gets a microphone, says that they are done with Thatcher and are here, Thatcher and Ciampa, and are here for MSK. They have already proven they're better than Thatcher and Ciampa. Ciampa then says that the Grizzled Young Veterans won't get a title shot until they go through them. Gibson says that if they want a scrap, then they've got it, and they want an old-fashioned tornado match. Ciampa says they love tornadoes, they don't have to wait, and they charge to the ring. The heels retreat as Thatcher says that he's going to love breaking their limbs. What did you think?
So this is a fine kind of squash, I think. Gray and Jiro got a decent amount of offense, and they look good for that. And it was a good win for GYV, yeah. This match should be on Takeover, the tornado tag. It should replace Martinez Rizzi, because I think this is a good feud. I think this would be a fire match.
It could be really fun. They'll just be fighting all over the place. I
right,
feel like.
just like this should be on Takeover. It's just like you don't get a lot of tornado tag matches.
And there's been a little bit more of feels like a story going into this.
Right, and it just feels like it belongs on Takeover.
Yeah, you
whereas
might be right.
Leah Martinez is just like just to kind of fill the card. This one feels like it belongs here.
Yeah, I felt like you said a squash match. I went a notch higher and said an enhancement match. I think Jiro is entertaining, and he looked good in his brief time. The show's really focused this week on hitting each story one more time before the pay-per-view, I guess, or extending this storyline to, what is it? This match is next week. The thing is, I already feel how I feel. This didn't change much, but I do like the idea of the tornado match. It opens up some possibilities. It should be a really fun match. I think everybody did a good enough job on the promos afterwards. It's just not adding anything for me at this point. I'm already ready to see these guys fight, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We're then shown Bobby Fish being beaten down by Lorcan after his match with Pete Dunne. I guess it was last week. Fish is then shown working.
I think it was or maybe a couple weeks ago or something.
Previously,
yeah.
Fish is shown working with a heavy bag, and he pauses to say he hasn't forgotten about Oni. So this was like 10 seconds to get the point across, and I imagine he has to lose to Dunn, and then he can start to rebuild himself by beating Oni Lorcan, I would imagine, because Oni Lorcan just won today, so when he doesn't win that often, right? So he won't be due for another win for quite a while. Candice LeRae angrily makes her way to the ring, and she speaks about Poppy. Yay! More the way and more Poppy. She's sick of hearing about Poppy, and obviously the crowd starts...
I am too, but she's making it worse.
Then the crowd starts chanting Poppy, just spontaneously, of course. It wasn't like they were told to or anything by anybody.
No, why would you think that?
Poppy interrupted her interview and stole Indy's man when everyone knows Index is a thing, and now Indy is devastated. She says Poppy can come out to face her or meet her in the parking lot. So Poppy comes out and says that she doesn't...
Is that Candice acknowledging that the parking lot's
a dangerous
place, ideal for fighting?
It is. Poppy comes out, says that she doesn't wrestle, but knows someone who does, and a very familiar theme that I really like hits, and Io Shirai is back, and she comes out. She sprints to the ring, attacks Candice, 619, missile drop kick. Candice has to escape as Io and Poppy celebrate, and my notes say poopy, but that's not nice. What did you think?
Well, I'm very happy. I thought we were getting Candice versus Poppy, and Io Shirai's back, so see that works very well.
They did save it, right?
Right, they really did, I think. And I like how she's like acknowledging Index is a thing,
now,
even though no, but that's almost like that's her. I think that's her being a great heel, because it's like finding another reason to hate Poppy. You know that they're a thing, and you were getting in the way of that, even though Candice has been trying to prevent that the whole time.
She doesn't support
she doesn't have to acknowledge that, right?
She doesn't support their union unless it somehow benefits her.
Right. So I kind of like that. I
agree with that.
So if we get Candice versus Io, this would be great, because I thought we were getting another celebrity match. This is a close one.
Yeah, basically, I forgive everything because Io's back, right? Poppy seems cool and all. I really don't need her involved on the show. But I thought if this is what we get out of it, then I was afraid she was going to be in a match or something. So this is a much better result. And a Candice Io match will obviously be awesome. So I'm all on board for that. We get Doc Hendricks back hyping Takeover in Your House again. Then... The only reason I made note of this was the commentary team are then shown hyping up the pre-show, and Beth at one point says all that in a bag of chips, right? And the other two are like struggling to keep their composure because that's such a... Like that was a thing in like the 90s. I think they even say that. Like, is this the 90s or something, Beth? Because like that hasn't been said since like sitcoms in the 90s. And honestly... Barrett and who's the other one?
Vic Joseph.
There you go. They were having trouble keeping their composure after she said that. I made a note because it made me laugh. Just because I know that phrase from... It hasn't been said in 15,
title of a
20
Corner
years.
Gas episode.
Is it in one?
It's the title of one.
Oh, is it?
Because, I think Karen...
There you go, folks. Corner Gas, an obscure Canadian show that is amazing.
Great.
But it's... There's not a lot to it, but that's what's so... Anyways, go check it out.
It's good.
It's awesome. If you like clever dialogue and like just people insulting each other generally. It's a good show. Gonzalez and Kai are then shown passing Io and Poppy on their way to the ring. So again, they've started to do this too, where they have people sort of crossing paths backstage, which
but
I
this
like.
one's dumb.
Yeah. Dakota Kai and Ember Moon is a match we're going to get. I was going to say main event, but it's not really. It's the last match, right? But there is a segment after this. So the final match of the night is between these two. We get shoving and an extended tie-up before Dakota Kai pulls Moon into the corner and hits a running kick. We get some basic corner offense, another running boot to a seated Ember Moon for a 2 count. Moon fires up, hits a single leg drop kick and a flatliner for 2. Kai spins Moon as Moon is lying on the mat. I have trouble explaining this all the time. So she spins her, and Moon's head ends up smashing into the ring post.
Around and,
it looked good, I thought.
Yeah.
So Moon's kind of lying face down on the mat, right?
Yeah,
and
so
Kai
she kinda
spins
gets
her.
Spun around. Yeah.
We get a jumping code breaker by Ember Moon for a 2 count. Boot and a kick to the back by Dakota Kai. Super kick to the back of Kai's head. Somersault stunner by Moon for a 2 count. Dragon sleeper by Moon, countered by Kai into a crossroads for a 2 count. Scorpion kick, nice running boot to Moon in the corner. Powerbomb out of desperation by Ember Moon for another 2 count. Gonzalez misses a boot on the outside as the ref is distracted, and Moon takes her out with a forearm. Dakota Kai misses a boot as Moon climbs onto the apron. Moon tosses Kai to the floor. Suicide dive by Moon to take out Gonzalez and Kai. Kick to Kai. Moon sets up for the Eclipse but gets booted to the floor by Gonzalez, and Moon wins by DQ here.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention how bad Ember Moon's entrance was. Oh my god.
It was.
So her theme is ear piercing. It's terrible. And her entrance gear, especially today, was bad. She had like a light up wolf mask and lights on her jacket. She looked like so stupid. You're saying like it looked like
yeah, you like that comment, but how did I say it? I said it felt like they did a contest where kids could sort of send in a drawing of what they would like Ember Moon to wear to the ring.
And she would actually wear it.
And this is what some 6-year-old drew, and that they decided to make it real for them. But anyways, that's mean. So after this, Moon attacks Gonzalez, turns to take out Dakota Kai, but gets taken out by Gonzalez instead. She counters Gonzalez' finisher into a stunner and eventually hits the Eclipse. Picks up the title for a minute and then drops it on Gonzalez. What did you think of the match, the post-match? All of it.
It was a pretty good match up until the finish. I think their first match is better. And Moon's better than in the ring than promos.
For sure.
And her character works out. I think this is good, but I think the DQ finish kind of ruined it a bit.
Yes, I don't
Whereas
disagree.
I think the no contest in the triple threat I was fine with. Like, it worked.
Yep, I really liked the match. I didn't love the finish, but I did like the match as a whole. A little bit of awkwardness right before the spin into the ring post by Kai, where it felt like there was a moment where they weren't quite sure where they were going, but didn't really matter to me too much. I thought the rest was pretty awesome, to be honest. I knew Dakota Kai wasn't going to win, obviously, but I still enjoyed the match. So that says something about the quality, right? When I know a certain competitor has no chance to win, but I still enjoy the match. That's
basically any Roman Reigns match or Omega.
Right. It's a pretty ringing endorsement. Yeah, exactly. Like Omega right now, who's beating him? Nobody right now. The match had a great pace to it, I thought. Both women looked really good. Something I love about Kai's kick-based offense, and it would bother me sometimes with other people, but I don't know. She executes all kinds of different kicks, and almost all of them look really good. So I like this whole captain a team kick thing. I feel like if they wanted to at any point, they can heat up Dakota Kai and make her a main eventer, in my opinion. I think she's awesome. This was easily my match of the night. I don't think there's any way Moon wins at the pay-per-view, especially because she just picked up the title, which is like death, right? You can't do that.
Yeah, you die.
But she did get to look good here, at least. Mm-hmm. So then we get Karrion Kross. He says the other guys...
It's the Fatal 5-Way face-off.
Right. They have the opportunity to be in the ring with him tonight, and they won't have to wait until Friday to... I thought he said feel the flatliner, but that doesn't make sense. I put a question mark because I wasn't sure. But maybe he said that, maybe he didn't. Then he says some other stuff before he says TikTok. My only comment was I thought this time he was whispering. Last week he was just talking like a normal person, and before he's done promos differently from that. So it's almost like he's experimenting with different promo styles, which I guess NXT is the place to do it. But
I guess.
So yeah, did you have any comments on this little? I didn't really have much.
No, not really.
Okay. So let's go to the ring then. Regal's in the ring already. He's yelling at Cross and telling him that this will not happen now, sort of feeling that there's going to be some sort of physical altercation, and he wants to
Regal,
head that off.
how perceptive are Regal?
It's not the parking lot, so in the ring is safer, really,
that
than
is
the parking
true.
lot.
He should be thankful they're not in the parking lot. Like, honestly.
Cross says Regal doesn't run anything, and the show has been chaos for a while now. It's true.
The way things have been going lately, it really doesn't feel like he runs anything other than, like, making the flag of approval on a match.
Right. Like, that's basically everybody else is making their own matches, and he goes, okay. So Cross says we're now in his world. Cool Kyle O'Reilly comes out, says that Cole got under Cross's thin skin last week. Cross is just insecure because it's just a matter of time before someone takes that title from him. Gargano comes out next, stands on the announce table. He disses Kyle's jean jacket and that Cross is the champ, but he's no Johnny Takeover. He suggests Cross choke Kyle out right here. Excuse me. Cross starts to respond. Pete Dunne interrupts. He says he's the baddest man in NXT, and after Sunday you can just call him champ. Cole then appears on the screen, not in person. Talks about destroying Cross verbally last week. Story checks out there. He sees through Cross and says that Cross doesn't want Cole one-on-one.
Yeah.
He will show that Cross's reign will be a disappointment. Kyle steps up and slaps Cross, and a brawl ensues here. Cross takes out everyone, or Cruz, as I have. Cruz takes out everyone with suplexes, including several security guards. Cross is finally stopped momentarily, and all the other guys hit big moves to each other until Cross recovers, takes them all out, grabs the belt. As he celebrates, he is super kicked by Cole, who was there, which I think is kind of a cool sneaky move by him. He picks up the title, holds it high to end the show. So everything but Cole touching that title, right? You were probably happy. What'd you think?
So I thought it was a good segment to end the show, but was a little shorter than I expected. Each guy made some good points, other than Cross. And I thought the best of the bunch was Cole. Not because I'm biased, but I just thought he's really good, just ripping apart everybody, basically.
Well, and I thought the whole, like, I'm on the Tron because I'm not here, and then obviously...
Yes, that was smart too. And
yep.
I think I agreed with some of the things he said, and he's really good at heel logic as well.
Yep.
And again, didn't love Cross dominating everyone, but I did find it amusing when he's being held back by security guards, and Gargano and Dunne kick him.
They're really letting him verbally gotten the better of by other people, right? So I guess they made up for it by having him physically dominate.
I don't even think they need to make up for it.
But
I did like Cole wrecking Cross at the end, but I'm afraid he jinxed himself by holding up the
belt.
title. But then again, he's Adam Cole, so.
And I mean, at some point, somebody picking up the title is going to win. They can't always have them lose.
And I mean, I don't think this is Adam Cole, so.
Really, really feels like a way to get the belt off Cross without him being pinned.
That's what I'm hoping. I will literally take
SmackDown or
anybody else in that match as champion. I literally don't care who wins.
It's just not... He and LA Knight are not NXT type performers. And I'm not saying they're bad performers. Like, they're just not...
Cole has proven himself to be a good champion, so I would always be happy with that. O'Reilly is ready for it.
NXT's about kind of the undersized super workers for me.
Dunne is ready for it, I think. And Gargano, he didn't really get a major chance with the title. Because remember, he won the vacant title, held it for like a month, and then lost it to Cole, right? So I think any of these guys are good for the title, and I would be fine with it.
I hope that's what happens. I really hope. My fear is that they're like, no, this was designed to make Cross look super strong and he's going to kill everybody. That's
my fear.
Right? That's a possibility. I still think that's less of a possibility. I
kind of wish this was a six-pack challenge with Balor in it as well.
With some of the main roster releases, they've made a bit of room, right?
That's true.
So especially you got rid of like a
Braun Strowman.
Right. So not that Cross
That's true. Well, Cross isn't as big, but he's like kind of the monster type you could... That's I'm
trying to give you a bit of hope, buddy.
That's actually a good...
right? Yeah. I thought this was a kind of a paint by numbers go home segment, right? Like
I kind of liked it though.
It's not bad, right? The action at the very end was pretty fun, I thought, when everybody was sort of attacking everybody. Nothing really new came from this, which I feel like was kind of the theme of the night. It was all just sort of the final push to the pay-per-view, which makes sense on a go home show. It was meant to build some more interest. I don't think it was a bad segment. It was pretty standard, I guess. It was good-ish. I don't know. What'd you think of the entire show?
So the opener was fine, like good
Yeah.
enough, but we've seen better.
For sure.
LA Knight's video I didn't really love. The Escobar Reed segment, I it was good, although kind of Reed was kind of confusing. Although
Yeah, the heel face
it's
bit
setting up
was.
a good match. I think
It
this is
is.
one of the segments where there's an actual substantial development towards Takeover.
True. They added something.
Swerve versus Killian Dane was pretty good. For what it was. Grimes' video was funny, so
I liked
he
it.
had that on LA Night, I think.
Yep.
Martinez's squash made her look good, but still don't care. Breezango, no. Triple H's thing, no. Ted DiBiase's announcement was, I guess, harmless. And it was fine. I couldn't see others liking it. And
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it. I didn't really care for it either.
But it also improved that match type for us, right?
That's true. It did make
So
some
that was
improvements,
helpful.
so that's a plus. That's
Yep.
a feather in his cap.
Feather in his cap.
Yeah. Grizzlies Young Veterans got a good win. Candice LeRae's thing wasn't great. I did kind of like her thingy with the index where like she's like
Yeah.
now like to benefit her own.
Now I support
thing.
their relationship
Right.
because
Yeah.
I can use
and
it to hate
Io
you.
Shirai's back, so I can't hate this segment too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Kai versus Moon was good, but the finish kind of marred that a
Agree.
bit.
Ooh, marred. Love it.
Mm-hmm. And I actually did quite like the main event segment. I thought it was good.
Yep.
I do kind of like these types of segments if they're done right.
Yeah.
So overall, I'd probably give it like a B plus. Like there was things I didn't really like,
Yeah.
but there were things I like, and then there was things like that were like fine. So I think just above average in my opinion.
Awesome.
Kind of there.
I think the final segment too, you're right. The length of it I thought was good. They didn't drag it on too long, right?
Right,
So
and that's what I'm
from that
saying. Like
point
if
of view.
those segments are done right, they're usually pretty good.
Yep. So this entire show was really to put final touches on feuds heading into the pay-per-view for the most part. The Swerve Dane match and the Moon Kai match I thought were really good. None of the other in-ring stuff was really notable for me, including the opener, which I don't know, I had trouble getting into it. The Poppy thread throughout the show felt really main roster and forced at times, especially the Triple H involvement, just to coincide with her album release. But like you said, it got us EO, so I was quick to forgive all of that, basically. DiBiase Grimes stuff was fine. I much preferred the Grimes one as well. I'm not really hyped for that match. I don't fully understand why the $1 Million belt is being introduced and what it means going forward. I don't think NXT needs another title. Especially, I think, depending, like, if Grimes wins this, it has the potential to be like a comedy belt, which is even worse, I think, like the 24/7 kind of thing, which I don't want at all. Considering all they've done for this feud with weeks of segments with DiBiase in different locations, he's one of my favorites from childhood. We get the return of an iconic belt and tons of attention. I wish I were more interested in it, but I'm not. There's something just missing for me. I don't know if it's LA Knight. I don't know if it's anyways, I'm not super into it. Everything else was really just to create a final push for the pay-per-view. To be honest, I'm either not interested in things or I'm already as interested as I'm going to be, if that makes sense. So this show didn't really move the needle for me in either direction. It added a couple details, I guess. We learned a couple more things that are going to happen. I enjoyed some things. I feel like it was sort of a holding pattern until In Your House. So I would give this episode a B- this week, so slightly less than you, I guess. I think it's only a decent show that leads into what to me on paper looks like a below average takeover. But again, there's always a chance with takeover that I'm not expecting much and the matches are all just awesome. So I'm still looking forward to watching it because they could really just over deliver.
Right,
there's a very good chance
the
of that.
lower expectations does almost help it, maybe.
It could, right? All right, well, that's going to finish up our NXT review and move us into our trivia segment, which is called Off the Top of His Head. So, this week, I did some work, buddy. I went to do some research. Again, we're counting on largely, Wikipedia to be right, and sometimes they're not, so we'll see. But, so this week, I went with how much do you know about some currently released WWE talent? I thought would be fun. So we're specifically taking a look at Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, and Buddy Murphy. You ready? All right. So starting out with Braun Strowman. Starting out with a couple hard ones. What is Braun Strowman's actual name?
Adam Sure.
What? I thought for sure that was why I didn't mention it earlier because I knew it was question number
That's
one.
his Instagram handle.
Smart. How old is he?
45.
37.
Oh.
Okay, so here's more of a Jack question specialty. Can you list his WWE title history? How many reigns and with what titles is all I'm looking for.
2-time Raw Tag Champ.
2-time Raw Tag Team
Are
Champions,
we
correct?
including the Greatest Royal Rumble?
No, just
Okay.
championships. That may
Uh,
come up later, though.
1-time Universal Champion.
Correct.
1-time Intercontinental Champion.
That is correct. I would not have gotten any of those. I might have gotten the 1-time Universal because I know he had it, and I don't think he's had it multiple times.
And when he won Tag Titles as
Hold
a
on.
child.
Don't say it.
Oh.
Next question. I knew it. Can you name Braun's partners from each of his 2 tag team championship reigns?
John Cone's child son,
Named Nicholas, correct?
and Seth Rollins.
Correct. And again, clearly you know this one. What 2 major battle royals did Braun win during his
Greatest
time?
Royal Rumble and Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal in 2019.
Yes, I was going to make you say the year. Just to
WrestleMania
make it harder.
35.
You're right. At what event did Braun win his first world title with WWE?
WrestleMania 36.
Correct. Braun is tied
Night
for
1, I think.
Braun is tied for the record for most eliminations in an elimination chamber match. Who is he tied with?
Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how are you thinking about this? That was one of the best elimination chambers where she just murdered everybody.
And then it fell off a cliff.
Because that's such a that's such a thing that they wouldn't seem to do. Is like, I don't want to make 5 other people look weak, or 4 or whatever it is, and
including Asuka.
and then have the match be really fast. But they did it, and it was awesome. And then they never went anywhere with it. But
they
anyways.
never gave her another shot.
All right, let's switch to Aleister Black. What was his in-ring name before and after?
Tommy End.
Tommy End is correct, and I actually used to watch him when he was Tommy End in some
I remember
indie stuff.
when he was coming, you were like, Tommy End's coming, and he's like...
And he was Tommy End briefly in WWE.
In like one match,
Right.
I think, against Neville.
Black debuted at an NXT Takeover. Which one?
Orlando.
Correct. Who did Black face in his debut match, and did he win?
Andrade?
Yes, and? Did he win?
Yes.
He did win.
And what's funny is he also beat Andrade for the NXT title.
Right. Nobody beats Andrade. That's brutal. Actually.
He beat Andrade twice.
I'd watch them fight anytime. At what pay-per-view did Black win the NXT Championship?
Takeover New Orleans.
Correct. I like you don't have to think about these. I would be 100% guessing, and I've watched all of this. Against whom did Black suffer his first pinfall loss in NXT? Ooh.
Tommaso Ciampa.
No.
Oh.
Close.
Before that. Gargano?
Yes. In what? Do you know what kind of match? It wasn't part of the question.
I don't.
Gargano in a fatal 4-way match after interference from the Undisputed Era. Sound right?
No. Well, yeah, but like it doesn't sound like anything specific.
No. In 2016, Black made a surprise appearance at the UK Championship Tournament Finals.
2017, that would have been.
In a non-tournament match. Who did he face
Neville.
and lose to? Yes, my boy, Pac.
I said that earlier. That's 2017.
I know you said it. It said 16.
17.
All right, I'll believe you.
It was like early 2017.
Once moved to the main roster, Black teamed with what other NXT star?
Ricochet.
Right. Actually, they were kind of interesting.
Rick and Al.
Right, Rick and Al. That's right. Our favorite team. All right, so let's talk about
they were
Ruby.
good.
Rubathy Riot. I assume Ruby's short for Rubathy, no?
You're probably right.
Rubathaniel? Could be any. Who knows?
Rubathia?
Rubathia. She made her television debut on the March 22nd episode of NXT, along with Ty Dillinger, No Way Jose, and Roderick Strong. Which person and faction did she attack?
Nikki Cross.
Why would you know that?
Sanity. I think I remember at Takeover Orlando. I think it was like her, Dillinger, and maybe Roddy, and then Cassius Ohno returned.
Your favorite.
And Sanity were wearing like
former winner of Survivor of the Fittest tournament in ROH.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
And Sanity were wearing like black paint around their eyes.
Yep.
And then I remember Killian Dane was wearing the same outfit. The same paint when he was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal the next night.
This is why it's off the top of his head, people, because this is the kind of stuff he remembers.
Yeah.
2016, probably, again, maybe the years are off. Riot participated in a number 1 contenders battle royal for Asuka's NXT Women's Championship and made it to the final 3 before what happened to the end of the match?
Nikki Cross attacked her.
No. Close.
She died.
No. Asuka attacked, resulting in no contest. Maybe.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia.
I
You can
don't
fact check it later.
I don't know.
Back to an easy one. Riot made her main roster debut. Who were the other two performers that debuted with her?
Stupid Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan sucks.
Yes. Aw, that's not nice. I don't mind them.
Liv Morgan sucks.
I don't think it's her fault that she never gets pushed. Apparently, she's a super hard worker and everyone loves her, but I don't know. Liv Morgan. The Riot Squad took part in the first ever all-women's pay-per-view Evolution, where they were defeated by who?
Natalya, Sasha Banks, and
I
Bayley.
didn't think you'd know that one either, especially Natalya. 2019, Riot challenged for the Raw Women's Championship at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view against
Ronda Rousey.
Correct.
It was like really short.
Hold on. Last one. Who won the match and how long was it?
Ronda Rousey at 5 minutes.
Less than 2 minutes.
Apparently. Oh, right. It was like really short.
Yeah. All right, Buddy Murphy.
And then they had a better match on the next Raw, which was weird.
Final few. I actually like Ruby Riott. I think she'd be a good signing for a lot of different places. Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy was born in what country?
Australia.
Correct.
Sydney, Australia?
Don't know. Just have Australia. How many times did Murphy win the NXT Tag Team Championships?
1.
Correct. True or false? Buddy Murphy is the first Australian wrestler to win a main roster title.
True.
True. It is true.
Yeah.
Who did Murphy... Man, I would never get this one. Forgot this team even existed in NXT. Who did Murphy and Blake defeat to win their only NXT tag titles? This was going to be a why do you know this moment, but you clearly don't off the top of your head, at least. Who did they beat?
Lucha Dragons?
Oh my god, yes. Is it because I said I forgot they were even in NXT?
No, I was just thinking, what was that
like,
era?
Lucha Dragons, they were in NXT and they had the tag titles?
Yeah, because Kalisto, that was like Sin Cara's only title.
As someone who's watched every NXT ever, I sure don't remember much. Who did Blake and Murphy lose the titles to?
Vaudevillains.
Takeover Brooklyn. Vaudevillains is correct. I remember them. They were cool. True or false? Their title reign, meaning Blake and Murphy, was over 200 days. So pretty significant reign.
True.
219 days. They were... It's funny because I kind of liked them. They had this obnoxious like dubstep theme and they had Alexa Bliss with them. Theme. But they were kind of cool.
Yeah.
On May... See, this one I thought was hard, but probably not for you. May 2016 episode of NXT... First Bliss, and then Blake walked away from Murphy, teasing a split for the team after Murphy and Blake lost to Shinsuke Nakamura and who?
Finn Balor?
No.
Samoa Joe?
No.
Hideo Itami?
No.
Ty Dillinger?
Nope. Somebody we really liked and we've seen him in Impact before.
Austin Aries?
Correct. One of the better brainbusters you'll see. That guy's in his prime, man. Whew. What a performer.
Remember Murphy faced Nakamura? And you really liked that.
Yeah, I probably would. Last question. Murphy's ring name. I picked one just to be impossible for you because you know how you love sports? You love all sports. You're just a sports guy to your core. Just kidding. He's not. His brother is. His father is, but he is not. Murphy's ring name is a reference to a player from which popular Australian sport?
Lacrosse.
No. Specifically Australian sport. It's even in the name.
Kangaroo kickboxing.
Kangaroo kickboxing is correct. No. Australian rules football. I knew
what?
I selfishly wanted to end on a question that you would get wrong. So I rigged the whole thing.
You Dorcas.
So it apparently is after Mark Murphy, who plays for his favorite Aussie rules football team.
You suck.
But anyways, you did very well on that. So yeah, that was almost 30 questions. Do you like that?
Yeah.
I got motivated to go through and
then screw me over.
And then put the hardest one at the end, the one that you wouldn't know for sure. All right, so let's
That's not even wrestling related.
Let's get back into some talk about wrestling then, and that will be your turn to discuss last night's AEW Dynamite.
And we get one of those pre-intro little tidbit thingy majiggies, with the Pinnacle arriving from their limo.
That couldn't be foreshadowing anything, could it?
No.
No. But yeah, even before the opening theme and everything,
especially not something childish.
Right.
Then we get our intro, and we start with a Christian Cage match.
Yay!
Who's jobbing out to him today?
One of our favorites.
Angelico.
Yes, we are both Angelico fans, so
And he doesn't even get his entrance.
No, so he didn't get to do his, what do you call it, the cool boy entrance?
Yeah, he's got a cool boy entrance.
Yeah, with his little dancing and mannerisms that are pretty fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep, already in the ring, Angelico.
So him and Jack Evans are with Matt Hardy, who, of course, to make this better, cuts a promo. He says Christian has always been jealous of him, right? Because Matt Hardy's the former world champion and Christian is not.
That's
right. And Helico will end Cage's career. Yes, that is definitely what's going to happen.
So it feels like this is setting up for Matt Hardy a Christian match, which is in 2021 not something that interests me at all.
The fact that either of them are here, I would be fine with Hardy here if he was doing the broken gimmick, but he's not. So
I just, in ring, he's not very good anymore. And Christian is, he might still be good, but there's something, I don't know if it's like lingering WWE like
style,
right? So I don't know if that's what it is
he's
or not, but
bad,
there's just something
just
about
style,
it.
he just doesn't fit,
right?
Like,
anyways, I don't know.
I think you could say like Sting and Hardy aren't good, but like Cage, it doesn't.
It feels fit. Like it's building to that match, and if that's the case, I don't have much time for that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of pissed already because TH2 didn't get their entrance, and Angelico's getting jobbed out to Christian clearly.
Well,
like,
we assume we don't know yet.
That's
he could
true.
win. Well, you haven't recapped it yet for us.
Well, I think we all knew.
Yes, I think
pretty
so
much.
Too.
Unfortunately. So we start with holds and counters. Cage slaps Angelico. Corner punches by Cage. We're like, like the 1, 2.
Yeah, which feels like a very WWE thing. The corner.
Yeah, that's true.
The corner mount 10 punches. Yeah.
Right. And you have to get all of them, like...
You do.
And
can't do more or less.
Right, because in the game, you can, like, try to reverse each one and, like, shove them off. Or, like, Matt Hardy does, like, the turnbuckle thing?
Yes, all the way down. You can
reverse that, too. Well,
right.
In the game, it doesn't go all the way down, but just, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and I think that's what should happen, because, like, especially you go, like, 1, 2, like, you're going, like, at a slow pace.
Yes,
like it's a very convoluted.
You are telegraphing your next move slightly.
Pretty much.
By counting your punches, yes.
Right. And Helico grabs Cage's arm, pulls him off the top turnbuckle, and targets the arm further into more arm targeting, which becomes the focus of the match for Helico.
Which I kind of like, because that's an instant story, right? In a match that's just kind of random, we've got a little story of a guy's targeting an arm and a guy's selling an arm injury.
And Helico's in control a lot, but and Cage has a few attempts to fight back, and Helico is eventually back in control both times.
Right.
Cage is able to get a rope break on an arm hold that was being applied by Helico. And I don't know about you, but it seems as if Angelico is outworking Christian Cage.
He definitely was in the middle parts of this match, it felt like, right?
Get at work. You can't outwork everyone, Dorcas.
Right.
I'm going to say that every time the opportunity presents itself.
Yes. Well, he made that his catchphrase and gimmick.
Yeah, he brought this on himself.
Right.
So Cage finally gets some offense with an inverted tornado DDT. Hits a small comeback flurry of sorts with some strikes and then a running forearm. And a middle rope dropkick for a 2 count. A diving headbutt by Cage for 2, which they said something about it being like a dangerous move. I'm like, yeah, ask.
Yes.
Then what? Oh wait.
But this
ask
one
Harley
was
Race.
clearly nowhere near his head, right? It was like his shoulder, chest area.
Right.
So I don't love that move.
I can't remember they said something.
Of the things you could do off the top rope, it's one of my least favorite, I would say.
Right. I was like, wait, Dynamite Kid did it right. I was like, oh wait.
Yeah.
And then arm wrench kind of drives Cage back into the mat, kind of like shoulder first. From Helico, a small package pin gets a 2 count for Cage. Enziguri it was kind of like a strike exchange. He kind of like went down and kind of like came up with an Enziguri. And Helico did, which it was really cool. And then he gets like the kind of flip over jackknife pin for a 2 count. They kind of have like a head collision, and they're both down briefly. Cage is able to avoid a corner attack and kind of hits that pendulum kick where so he kind of like swings his legs through the ropes, and so he's kind of like sitting there. He's kind of has to lean back, hence the pendulum kick name. He follows that with his diving uppercut and the kill switch for the win. More on that. Jack Evans attacks, but Cage is able to fight him off, but Hardy gets another Twist of Fate sneak attack, and Jungle Boy makes a save.
So,
thoughts?
At my advanced age and memory, Jungle Boy getting involved, does that make sense somewhere along the line?
They teamed against Private Party last week.
Oh, that's
and
right.
they were the final two in the Battle Royal, right? And
So they've got this sort of mutual respect thing going, I guess. Yeah,
don't know why
that's
you
true.
respect
That
Christian
makes
right
sense.
now, but okay.
I actually like this match. I probably thought it was my favorite of Cage's since coming to AEW. I appreciate
Agreed.
also that he gave Angelico so much here, because I think he looked pretty good as well. And again, it told that really simple story, right? You've got one guy targeting the arm, and the other guy I thought Cage did a good job of selling. And I know Angelico never wins, basically, but he is really good and talented. He
Yeah.
has a unique, like, tall, really thin
These
look.
two really need to get out there in the tag division because they're both like really good.
Yeah.
So I think they deserve some spotlight.
The finish to this felt kind of sudden. The winner was never in doubt, but I actually did still think this was a good opener. I was entertained.
Yeah, I liked it. It probably Cage's best match, but I don't think it's really because of him. I think Angelico's just good.
He gets some credit. He was
yeah,
involved.
but I don't think he's the reason why it's his best.
Yeah, maybe not.
Angelico's great. I really wish I got to see more of him on Dynamite, and he actually gets an entrance. Like,
Yep.
Or like him or TH2 or even just Jack Evans. Like I'll take any.
I prefer
them
Angelico,
on
but yeah,
Dynamite.
I like them as a tag team for
Right,
sure.
they are really the hybrid tag team, right? So I
Yep.
think I would like to get figures of them, although it'd be really hard to like kind of
Probably not
Angelico.
one of the ones that'll be
I know.
soon.
Probably in that unmatched line because that's meant to get more of the roster out,
Right.
aka another Cody. If all this crap is building to a Matt Hardy Christian match, then I'm completely out on this.
Me too.
We do not need that in 2021, and especially not in AEW of all places. Like that's the kind of thing you expect in WWE. Like honestly.
Or like Impact.
Yes.
Sorry, Impact. You know I like you, but that is.
But that's just one of
we got a couple old WWE guys. Let's throw them together.
And also the way Christian did the kill switch, he
Yes.
delayed it for a good 3 or 4 seconds. It made Angelico look really weak and dumb because like
I also hated
he
that.
got held there and like he could have easily gotten out of it, right? So
yeah, because you're just sort of standing there bent over at the waist waiting to be dropped on your head. It was kind of ridiculous.
A pretty good match, but the story it's a part of is not good.
Right.
And so I know you had a thing on there's like the AEW specials coming
Oh, right. Excalibur then sort of hypes the AEW is going back on tour as well. And they talk about 4 special Dynamite episodes coming up. It's basically all of July. So July 7th is being called Road Rager.
Right.
Fighter Fest Night 1 is the 14th. Fighter Fest Night 2 is the 21st. And then July 28th, they finish with Fight for the Fallen.
Right after my birthday right there.
Right. 4 consecutive weeks of like whatever they call them,
July
specials.
Is packed, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
so hopefully it's
Summer of specials, huh?
Hopefully it's not just special in name only, right? That they actually ram these cards full of cool
they
matches.
They already
and
do
stuff.
have a stipulation match for Road Rager, which we'll talk about right now.
Right.
But yes. I'm excited. Like I'm really curious to see. I think they did 3 in a row. I think earlier this year. Remember they had like the. Well, actually, it was accidentally 4 because they had the
winter
holiday bash or whatever. No, because winter one was at like the beginning of the month. They had like the holiday bash or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they had to push back the New Year's one because they had the Brody Lee tribute episode where I guess that could be considered a special episode, right?
Yep.
And then you had the 2 New Year's Smash episodes.
Oh, right.
So I'm really curious how they're gonna really have to plan ahead, which I think it's more their forte than AEW or the WWE.
For sure.
But I'm really interested to see how they're gonna be able to make each of these kind of feel like a TV special.
Because they generally do try.
They are usually good at it, but I think it would be really tricky to pull off 4 in a row. But I think if anyone could do it, they can.
I hope so. It should be a fun month.
Right?
Yeah.
Next we get Cody, which I was looking forward to so much.
Yeah, of course. Love
it was
Cody.
funny because they said this and the trios match were up next, but I guess that just meant like the 2 next segments is like in that order.
I guess.
So we got Cody and Brock Anderson.
And I'm sorry, right off the bat, I have no idea why I should care about Brock Anderson or why this requires attention at all.
Because they're facing QT and Aaron Solo next week. That's why it's important. So. Yep. It's important.
Very important.
And
it's a very thin roster. We got to find new talents. I made
the observation that I think Brock Anderson looks like Dolph Ziggler. When he was a caddy for Kareem White, like based on his clothes.
I'm no fashion plate, but man, if I'm making my debut,
I would not wear what he's wearing.
That's not what I'm wearing. He looks like he just walked off the golf course.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
Like,
it wasn't a strong outfit in my opinion, but again, what do I know?
Yeah. And then Cody says if he thinks Brock will hit a home run in his debut, and if anyone can do it, it's Brock Anderson. Ironically, Brock Anderson said nothing in this segment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he doesn't even say a word.
Right. Cody says he wants revenge after Ogogo beat him, and I thought it was gonna be the factory interrupts, but it was just QT actually.
Right.
QT says he was the one who beat Cody, not Ogogo, because he technically got the pin, and so he's offended.
Yep.
QT says they should stop with the nepotism, and he is sick of it. Which, yes, but he's kind of up there in the nepotism
right,
tree.
It's because he's friends, like he's besties with Cody, right?
He's kind of in the nepotism tree.
Right.
Less so than
Not
others.
kayfabe right now, though.
Right,
and Cody
obviously.
have nothing to do with each other.
QT says Cody has been neglecting stars like Komoroto and Solo, and that's how this all started. QT says he wants a full house when he whips Cody's arse, and he literally, because he wants, I believe it's a strap match, but they call it a South Beach
Another
strap
one of my
match.
least favorite stipulations.
On July 7th. Yeah, especially when it's these guys. Like, I remember, I think it was The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. That one was, I like that one.
Yeah, that one was well done, actually. I remember not hating it.
They're well done. They're good when they're, like, depending on the talent and, like, when they're done properly. Like, I remember Dexter Lumis and Roderick Strong or the Lumis Grimes. I didn't really like those ones, but, like, I thought The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan was... I sure we got 3.
It's just another sort of limiting thing where you have to be tied together.
It's not
my favorite.
I think it does... It's at least good in the aspect you can... When you whip your opponent with the strap, that provides a good visual.
You can choke them, whatever, but
right.
I don't know.
So I think it's better than a bull rope match, though. At least
I'm not a fan of either.
But I would prefer strap to a bull rope, at least, though. Cody says they should do it right now, and they both remove their belts. And QT cheap shots on Anderson, and Brock loses it and punches him in the face and stuff and things.
Wow.
And the ref separate him. Thoughts on this wonderful, wonderful piece of crap?
I'm gonna fantasy book a bit here. I think they missed a chance for something better. I like the idea of QT calling out the nepotism, but I think they really needed to like drill down into that and go deeper. And basically something like, Brock Anderson gets all this attention for being Arn's kid, gets a segment on Dynamite just to be introduced, while QT represents these guys who work and train their butts off every day for years, can't get a shot since their daddies aren't legends, right? Cody isn't a common man at this point. He's wrestling elite, and what is he doing with his power? He's helping other people who are already really privileged by having famous dads get their time, while QT's sort of trying to help these lesser names. For me, that would be way more interesting, but I guess it would require, again, this would almost be like a double turn, right? Because QT is sort of the baby face representing the underrepresented, and then Cody's like the elite member of the wrestling society who just
elite.
Well, yeah, is just sort of helping out people he knows, right? And turning his back on these other people. So he sort of broached the subject, but I had wished he'd really dug into that a little bit more and gone that route, except it does sort of make Cody heel, which I think he has been his whole time basically anyways. We've talked about that enough, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm not interested in this. I don't need this. I don't need QT Marshall, and he is going back to Marshall now, so I can finally not be wrong when I say that, but there's just so much talent on this show. I don't understand why we needed this.
Yeah, like you had Teach 2 not doing anything. Like, come on.
So was not a fan. What about you?
This is not great. Cody's promo is basic, and what QT said about nepotism could not have been more correct than here, kind of including himself. Cody's buddies with Arn, who is one of his dad's friends, and to your point, like, he's literally the opposite of what his dad stood for. Like, Dusty Rhodes' whole thing was like, he's the common man, right? He's
son
the
of a plumber.
Right.
Well, you're son of a wrestling legend now, so that is nowhere near the same thing.
Right. Like, Cody could not be farther from his dad, right? And so now he's letting Arn's kid debut and get the quote-unquote Cody rub, and also giving himself and his buddy QT a feud in this major match, kind of. And now they're getting like a strap match because he's got to assume everybody cares about this feud, right?
Yeah.
It's Cody. Everyone cares about it. It's amazing. And it's like everyone cares about it.
Maybe Brock Anderson's amazing, but I do not think this was a good way to introduce him.
I guess this whole Nightmare Family vs. Factory feud has produced much worse segments, so I guess that's a feather in this segment's cap.
But it's been like continuous. This is going on quite a while now, and it's not getting very interesting. It's a way for Cody to showcase himself and tell himself that
And
he's helping
everybody
make.
he knows.
I'm helping make other people, right? Which I don't think he is.
And well, only people who are around him and don't really need to be made, because no one cares.
Not a fan.
Next we get probably my favorite thing of the show.
I think
was
maybe too.
Eddie Kingston, Pac, and Penta El Zermado, my boy, versus Brandon Cutler and the Young Bucks.
And without giving anything away, I was not looking forward to the inclusion of Cutler in this, but he contributes to this match, I think,
agree.
somewhat
I think
significantly. So I won't say how or why, because you're going to talk about it, but going in, I was like, really?
I actually
Cutler?
agree with you, though.
But he contributed,
yeah,
so go ahead.
Penta's wearing the same attire as his Unrivaled 2-figure, the one I have,
right?
Which I think is Double or Nothing 2019, with I think the gloves are different, the mask might be slightly different, and also the back of his top has a 0 instead of the pattern. But
details you would notice for sure.
I just noticed the front. I was like, recognize that.
Yep.
So we start with Pac versus Matt. But Pac wants Cutler because Cutler did cost him and Penta the tag match last week.
Yeah. Just a quick comment on the Bucks entrance. Their presentation right now is fantastic. They're just really good modern heels. They are so hateable. Like if I sat somebody down who wasn't a wrestling fan and we started watching this, those guys would walk out. And I feel like an average person would just hate them right away. And that's what they're going for. And I think I really, really enjoy them as heels right now.
So Matt goes to fake a tag and then tries to get a cheap shot on Pac, but Pac blocks it and attacks. And Cutler is forced to tag.
And he's wearing like a full tracksuit, like zip up top,
and the face mask
protector thing.
He got injured by Penta.
Right.
He gets absolutely roughhoused by Pac, who avoids Kingston and chooses to tag in Penta instead. Because there's like that distrust, right? Because Kingston did kind of poach Lucha Bros while Pac was unable to enter the U.S. during the pandemic.
Right. So yes, Pac is avoiding tagging in Eddie, right?
So Death Triangle, which is just Penta and Pac, they hit the Fork in the Road move, which is like their dropkick version of the Dudley Boys.
It looked really good this week. Yeah. Very solid contact with the groin.
Yeah, Penta does the thing. I remember he did this to Sami Callihan, where like he exposes the chest and then hits a chop. This time the victim is Brandon Cutler.
Like unzips his top and chops him just for added effect.
Kingston tags in because he and Penta are still on decent terms. Like they're willing to coexist, right?
And at one point, I think it already passed. Cutler is like, remember, he's just basically dead weight and getting dragged. Like he did such a good job of just looking like he was basically out cold, being thrown around.
Kitchen sink knee lifts, which are basically just knee lifts to the stomach.
Yep.
And a foot stomp to the midsection, for 2 by Kingston. And a bit of a stalling suplex by Kingston for 2, which is pretty cool. Pac tags in. There's a brief stare off with Kingston. And Pac chunks a near limp Cutler to the Bucks corner.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of throws him there, and Matt tags in. Hip toss, and Pac kind of mocks the Bucks with that back handspring drop kick.
Right.
Which I was like, that's not a very Pac thing to do, but I guess he is mocking them. So,
yes.
Which was kind of a nice touch. Another nice strike combo by Pac, just with like the soul kicks and the, it looks good.
Yep.
Nick pulls Pac out, but gets taken out, and a big backdrop on the outside on Cutler by Pac. And the Bucks are able to take control before their commercial break. Pac is fighting off a double team, and Pac counters Matt Jackson's tornado DT and kind of just chucks him, and he lands on his stomach. Pac hesitates to tag Kingston, but eventually does after kicking off Cutler. Flurry by Kingston, Penta tags in, and he just pops off here.
He does.
He hits a double crossbody on the Bucks, and he ducks, and they inadvertently hit a double super kick on Cutler, who just took that like a champ.
Yep.
Penta kind of does like a wheelbarrow roll through on on Nick. So like he does like the wheelbarrow, he rolls through, and then that transitions into a destroyer on Matt.
Very cool.
And Nick goes to the PK from the apron on Penta, who ducks, and he hits Cutler again.
Yeah, this is Cutler's.
Awesome.
Playing a role.
Penta hits an apron backstabber on Nick and chucks him onto Cutler afterwards, and then Penta hits a Fear Factor in the ring for 2 on Matt. Cutler's able to break the pin, and yeah, that was just the Penta show right there.
It was.
That's the metaphorical one-man wrecking crew right there. Pac tags in, corner attacks by Death Triangle and Kingston. Pac goes up top, and Kingston prevents Cutler from the camera cheap shot. A cool lariat by Nick, an arm drag and tope con hilo by Penta. 450 splash into the brutalizer by Pac, and Nick tries to kick him off, but he's kind of just standing there. Or like, Pac continues the hold.
I thought that made Pac look really strong, getting
Right.
kicked in the face and refusing to like release his hold.
An enziguri by Kingston on Nick. Stereo dives by Pac and Kingston. Matt rolls Pac up for a near fall. Domagiri buckle bomb by Cutler and the Bucks. Cutler tags in, and Pac avoids a Cutler springboard attack and a great looking spinning back fist on Cutler by Kingston.
Looked really solid.
And Pac is able to cover Cutler for the win. And Kingston Death Triangle pick up the win. Bucks immediately attack, and the Good Brothers come out to join, but Kaz, aka the Elite Hunter, comes out and brawls Gallows. Big lariat to Cutler by Kaz, and the babyfaces stand tall.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. I thought there was lots of good action and comedy mixed in, and I'm not always a guy that loves comedy in my wrestling, but the Bucks over-the-top antics sort of mixed in with awesome wrestling, and Cutler just playing the comedy fodder, right? And it worked for me in this match. He
really did, even like he was different here, but like he did still have a pretty important place in the match.
Yeah, he was sacrificed by his teammates at one point, right? Being the one that they tag in and send in. Multiple times he took sort of accidental offense from his teammates.
But I doubt they cared.
Even like the jacket being ripped open and getting chops was just really fun. Then the action really picked up, and I was just enjoying the ability of all of the guys involved here. Pac and Penta, I thought, looked really great. I thought this was an excellent match, and it was different from a lot of what we see on Dynamite because of that comedy sort of thread going through the match. So I thought this was really entertaining.
What a match. This is great. It reinforces my opinion that this should have been the main event. Like,
I
was already thinking
I think I made that note
should
later.
be main event, but this was action-packed from top to bottom. It was awesome. Penta just went on a tear midway through, just hitting everybody with everything. I love the Bucks accidentally hitting Cutler numerous times. And they just, like, it was an accident, but you know they didn't care. Right? And, like, they even sacrificed him numerous times, like you said. And on that note, props must be given to Cutler, who didn't do much in this match, but his selling was on point. Pac does hit hard normally, but Cutler took it like a champ.
He did.
And same when the Bucks and Vernley hit him, like he was just, his selling was really like what helped him.
And Cutler
like,
can basically
he had his place in this match.
He did almost nothing on offense, but he still was like did a great job.
He did, which I think is almost harder to do when you.
Oh, I think there's fewer people that could pull that off than actually wrestle. Yeah,
I liked Kaz coming out afterwards as well to further the Elite Hunter gimmick he's developing. Too. I also like that there seems to be like a bunch of guys uniting against the Super Elite faction, because mainly the Bucks and Omega have been such kind of asses and just healing it up, and like so I like that there's like kind of like you got Kingston Mox, you got Death Triangle, you now have Kaz, you got like a bunch of these guys uniting against
because they realize maybe
mega heels
can't do it on your own, right?
Right,
so you're gonna have to
like you have this faction of cheating jerks.
Yes.
And so you kind of need to. I really like that.
And not only do they cheat, but they're super talented and probably don't even need to cheat, but they do anyway.
But so it's like an advantage.
Right.
If you brought Mox back, you could have Pac, Penta, Mox, Kingston, and Kaz. Against the Bucks, the Good Brothers, and I think either Cutler or Knack.
Right.
Like, I think this whole storyline has a lot of potential and potential to be interesting if it's taken the right way, in my opinion.
Yep.
Great match, and I think this storyline's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Anything the Elite are involved in right now, I'm kind of enjoying. And that I feel like whatever Marky's
really like
saying
the aspect,
that.
It's like you got this super faction, you kind of like have to have people uniting. It's like I was watching the recount, the New Japan thing.
Yep.
On the Bullet Club, and it was kind of like Chaos, which is Okada's faction, and then New Japan guys like Tanahashi kind of had to unite against Bullet Club, but they still lost a lot.
Yep.
And that was when Jay White was leading. So
it's this idea, right?
Like Jay White.
They're amazing wrestlers already, but you also have to deal with the numbers game.
But they're just
and
making
they also
an
are willing
unfair
to cheat.
Advantage, right?
Yep.
It's like another thing in the recount was so Styles was challenging Okada for the IWGP title. And, like, Kevin Kelly, who's the narrator, he made the point, like, Styles is a match for Okada, but, like, with Bullet Club with him, it's kind of like...
Right. There's the advantage.
Right.
Yep.
So we get a quick package recapping the Double or Nothing World Title match. Shows a few ending highlights and Callis wanting to expose the quote-unquote conspiracy. More on that later.
But wasn't it, like... Didn't later they kind of act like they did reveal the conspiracy in this part? I was like, I don't I think I missed something.
What?
I don't know.
They tried that
Like I
Cassidy
thought
tried to win?
when they came back later, they were talking like this segment that just passed revealed the conspiracy,
I don't.
and that
I
Jungle
don't know.
Boy was in. I
I don't even
missed
know.
something. I think
But anyways,
might be me.
we'll talk
Might not
about
be
it.
the story. It might be me. But yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead.
So next we get the Pinnacle, appearing for the first time since Double or Nothing.
Right.
Dax says Stadium Stampede didn't go the way they wanted, but the match wasn't made for guys like them anyways. Which I think is funny because they're literally the ones who made the challenge and whatever. But I think that's
But their
good
roots are
heel
the no
logic.
flips, just old school wrestling,
Right,
right?
and
So
not like all these shenanigan
Right.
matches, right? Which so it is kind of funny.
And while Dax was speaking, I made a note that I thought MJF was doing a great job in the background, looking dejected and like sad. I don't know if you noticed, but
I
he
did
was sort
not.
of in the back as Dax was talking. I thought he
Dax
looked good.
says FTR and Proud and Powerful have few similarities, but Proud and Powerful lost their edge, and FTR never did. That's why FTR targeted them. Dax says he also has a family like them and a bank account to worry about. Cash says he doesn't, and he doesn't care about that.
Doesn't have a family, doesn't care.
He says it's been 2 years and Proud and Powerful haven't been champions, and they are clearly fine with being a footnote in someone else's legacy.
Ooh.
Or like they're building their legacy, and then Proud and Powerful are fine with being a footnote.
Or
in
just
theirs.
riding the coattails of
Right.
other people.
Spears says Sammy being lucky and doing flash moves doesn't make him a hero, and Spears is the real hero. He said a little more than that, but that's
And then
all
like
I
the
got.
other people sort of, because he starts to get more intense and more angry, and the other guys start to pull him back, which I like that. And again, it's this idea that
He's kind of
Spears
flying off
is
the
a
handle.
hothead and needs to be reined in by the other guys again.
Right.
Yeah.
Wardlow thinks Hager needs him and is obsessed because Wardlow brings out the best in Hager, which that might be true actually.
Yep.
Wardlow says Hager has invited him to his world because it's the only way he could win, but he says it doesn't matter because it's always Wardlow's world. And MJF says he's not mad, he's tired because he's already the best. Talks about seeing Jericho at like the AEW rally in 2019. I remember like before Double or Nothing, I think it was maybe. MJF says should have been a dream to work with Jericho, but it wasn't because Jericho's a false god and not on MJF's level. MJF says he has beaten Jericho twice and he has nothing to prove, so he denies Jericho's challenge. And
Fair
MJF
point.
says he wasn't surprised Jericho spoke for Sammy because he has the speaking skills of Helen Keller,
Ooh.
which I thought was a sick burn.
Yeah, it's mean for sure.
He's better than Sammy and he knows it. But Jericho interrupts on the Tron. Jericho says MJF knows what happens when the inner circle doesn't get what
And
they
he's
want.
holding his bat at the moment.
Jericho says that's fine and they can think about that while they're walking home, and they proceed to vandalize the Pinnacle's limo, spray painting it, breaking it, and Hager drives a forklift and just pierces the side of the
And
limo.
picks it up, yeah.
And picks it off and completely rips off a side door, which was pretty amusing.
I thought so.
So in my opinion, I thought the segment was a pretty mixed bag, but I thought it was mostly really good.
Yeah.
I think the Pinnacle, as far as promos go, they've been really good lately.
Yep.
Like the pre-Double or Nothing dinner promo they had was awesome.
I
I
enjoyed
really
that.
like each of their promos here. This faction could probably talk for like half of the show and keep me interested, especially MJF. Like I think they're all doing really good. Even like Spears and Wardlow, who are probably the lesser promo guys you would have thought, they're doing really good as well, I think.
I thought Spears was excellent in this one, to be honest.
Then the Inner Circle came along, and this kind of came to a halt for me. Just because MJF had a perfectly good reason for not accepting the challenge, the Inner Circle essentially acted like children who didn't get what they wanted and threw a fit, which is even more odd when I'm pretty sure the rest of the Pinnacle, minus MJF, accepted the individual
They did.
challenges. So now the Inner Circle's thing makes even less sense, because it's really only Jericho who hasn't gotten his match accepted. Like, it would have made more sense if it was just Jericho mad at MJF not accepting because he was the only one to do so. And he did something because, other than the fact that Jericho's the leader, the other Inner Circle members had no real reason to vandalize the limo.
Yeah.
And it comes off as just kind of like, you're grown people. Like, get over it. Like, I don't know.
Interesting. We have different opinions. I like
the
it.
forklift was funny,
Yeah.
I guess. And this probably fits in. I think we were talking about better than the bubbly thing.
I thought so. It
The
felt less
bubbly
forced
hose?
than the champagne truck.
But I
coming in.
feel like the reasoning, it just didn't really make a ton of sense for me. Overall, a good segment. Promos were awesome, and the Inner Circle just, I don't know, it's kind of odd.
I was a bit confused by one part where, so MJF denies the match with Jericho, but then seems to be targeting Sammy, who already has, you know what I mean? So
Maybe that'll be after he faces Spears.
I'm wondering if it's like Jericho's injury, so he can't wrestle a singles match when the rest of them are scheduled to, and they need to find a way to delay it. But there's a bit of confusion for me there. But that being said, overall, I did like this. I was interested in what each guy was saying in the Pinnacle. I like that they took turns, and each of them ended until MJF obviously accepting the match. Nobody spoke for too long. I thought Spears was really good. I thought Dax is always excellent. Cash was fine as well. I thought this was a really well planned and executed segment.
I really like the promos.
I tend to, in this feud with Inner Circle, I tend to prefer the segments of Pinnacle to Inner Circle. The response by Inner Circle, for me, I didn't mind it. It felt really Attitude Era to me, which is sort of nice nostalgia for me, I guess. And the forklift part made me laugh because that was just a spectacle, right? This limousine being punctured and then lifted by a forklift made me laugh. So I don't know, man. I told you, like, this feud seems to never change, regardless of how many matches and segments they have.
Right.
But I was
The
entertained.
Inner Circle lost, and they want a match.
Right.
The Inner Circle won, they want a match.
And they're still just as mad as each other, and everybody's still on the same sides.
Right. I don't know.
So nothing really seems to change, but I was entertained by what the group of them did tonight. So I thought this was a fun segment.
Next,
and then I have a note 1 hour in, and I already prefer this show to last week.
It's been pretty good, I must say. Sting and Darby Allin. Darby says he won't replace Sting. He wants to be a handicap match. So, to prove you don't need an old man, you want to do it by yourself.
So it almost feels like this is not very bright babyface syndrome, where he just got worked into a handicap match by a couple heels, right? That kind of outsmarted him almost. So not...
So Darby tells Sting to stay home. Darby says he's not stupid. He wants... okay. And he wants to prove to them that he doesn't need Sting. So why wouldn't you just at least choose someone else?
Right.
Like, and then maybe do most of the work if you really want to, but then you at least have that saving grace and a tag partner. Like,
it's hard to be a smart babyface in this world.
I guess. Sting says he doesn't need to prove anything, and Darby asks him to stay home just this once. I am thanking Darby for that, though.
Yep.
No, this is fine, but it's really not smart.
I actually didn't mind this, and I think it might have been one of my favorite Sting things. For the first time for me, it felt like these two guys actually might know each other and may have spent some time together, rather than just being two guys they stuck together because they're quote-unquote loners in face paint, right? So, I mean, the heels seem to have gotten to Darby, and now are likely getting what they actually wanted in a handicap match. But Darby is the ultimate underdog, so he'll probably look good getting taken out by these two. So I didn't mind this. It actually felt like Sting and Darby have a relationship, which is for the first time for me. The rest is
Although I don't want them to.
Because Darby never really says anything, and they just sort of stand together. So I actually did not mind this as far as Sting segments go on Dynamite.
Sting's not going to be here next week.
Yep, that's true. Well, I mean, he's been told to stay home, and he said he will, but...
Okay, Sting's probably not going to be here next week.
Right.
So next we get kind of a segment just to show the connection between the Dark Order and the TNT title, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, me too.
So Uno talks about being on the road with Brody Lee, and they were close friends. Uno says he'd be happy if anyone from the Dark Order won the TNT title, but selfishly he kind of wants to be the one to bring back the title to the Dark Order and make Lee proud. I really like this. It was just great and kind of simple and short. It has like a lot of realism to it and kind of adds to the match for me.
Yep.
Kind of makes it sad he's not winning because like it really does feel like a...
Yeah.
And any other circumstance, this would be like the feel good win kind of.
And he talked about like a culmination of 14 years, that kind of deal. So I really
like this.
I really liked it too, even from the fact that it's remembering Brody Lee again. So this company's not happy with just we did a tribute show, we helped out his son, right? It's an ongoing thing. They're not just like...
They're not just going to do the general memorial thing and then forget about it.
It's not just lip service and then they move on.
Or like sweep it under the rug or something.
I thought this was a really strong babyface promo, and I really like that the Dark Order continue, and I hope they don't break them up. They continue to be this like...
Right, because like the faction in itself, in my opinion, they're kind of like a Brody Lee tribute in of itself.
They continue to be this cohesive group, right? That are honestly happy for each other's success.
Which I think is like, it's such a rarity nowadays.
So unique in wrestling ever, pretty much. Right? And it's always presented as if that's happening, there's one person who's not on board.
Right, like the Undisputed Era.
Right, but here it's like they're all bought in, and it's this cool babyface dynamic.
And even I like kind of Hangman Page is like the sorta member, but like affiliated at least.
I hope they keep this vibe going because I think it's really fun.
Mm-hmm. And this transitions nicely into a Miro versus Evil Uno TNT Championship match. So the match kind of starts there. It's kind of like a power struggle, not really holds and counters, but kind of like the struggle at the beginning. A body slam by Miro and some body blows. Uno has hits some chops, but they have little effect on Miro. Uno's able to duck, and Miro punches the ring post on the outside with like a noticeable sound. I thought that sounded really cool. And Uno's able to hit a senton off of the apron. Back elbow and a boot back in the ring by Uno. Miro pulls Uno off of the second rope into a back suplex, similar to Jordan Devlin's Devlin side. Miro is waiting out the countout after the commercial break. And Stu Grayson and Dark Order's 5, aka Allen Angels, come out to hype up Uno, who is able to make it back in the ring. Grayson gets clotheslined over the barricade, and 5 retreats before he is thrown by Miro.
Poor
Luckily,
Grayson.
he gets away. Yes. Miro removes the top turnbuckle and gets out the drop breaker and a running hurricanrana by Uno, which looked pretty cool. A Brody Lee-esque big boot by Uno. And a senton atomico from the top for a 1 count. Dark Order come out to hype Uno. All of them do, even Brody Lee Jr., who I guess finished his homework.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't know if we mentioned that, but you saw a thing.
Basically, he hadn't been on Dynamite for a while, and somebody had. I think they jokingly inquired, "Is it that he hasn't been keeping up with his schoolwork?" And his mother basically tweeted, "Yes, that's exactly it. Like, his favorite thing to do is go to Dynamite, but it's a privilege, and if he doesn't keep up with his school, he doesn't go." So
I think that's kind of funny.
it's amazing.
But yeah, Uno stomps on Miro's hands, hits a kick, I think. Miro goes for roll up for 2, gets sent into the exposed turnbuckle for a 2 count for Uno. A discus lariat does not take down Miro, who fires back with a lariat of his own and cinches in the accolade for the win.
He started bending it back too far now, right?
Right, like, I think that it works when he's sitting down on it and then wrenches back.
Right.
But now he's kind of like bending back, and it looks like a less effective sleeper.
When it looks like it would hurt the knees more than the back at that point, because your
right,
back's
I think
kind
it
of
was
straight.
against Darby. He was like sitting on it,
that
but
was the
still
first time he
wrenching
went.
back really good, I think.
Yeah. I like this match too. It's going to be pretty common throughout this show, I think. I thought Uno looked good. He got some time to shine, and he's a really talented guy.
Yep.
But again, it doesn't make Miro look weak, because Uno got his time to shine, but only because of distractions and an exposed turnbuckle, right? So it's again this idea that Miro doesn't have to dominate the whole match. You can find ways to make other people look good,
or like
but
when
Miro
he
looks
punched the
strong.
post.
Yeah. That was the best ring post punch I've ever seen.
Yeah, like it sounded really good.
Yeah. So Miro still looks really strong. I think Uno is a really engaging performer. The crowd was really behind him.
Yeah, they're
here.
really loving the Dark Order, which I mean, deservedly so.
So we said it earlier, right? This is another match where the result was never in doubt, but I thought it
Not
was
necessarily a bad
exactly
thing.
it was exactly what it needed to be. I like this match.
Good match, and Uno is certainly popular, like you said. He got some good offense to the point where I thought there was a slight chance he could have won, especially off that exposed turnbuckle.
Yes, that was a clever near fall.
Miro did prevail, but he made Uno look pretty good. And I thought the ring post punch sounded really good, like almost as if Miro actually punched it.
And that move where that was sort of like the Devlin side where he pulled him off the ropes. That looked cool too.
Andrade El Idolo package. It's basically a montage which at the end says his name and the face of Latinos. And he's gonna have an interview with JR next week. Which is odd because JR is the guy who can't say his name.
Yeah, it was just basically made to look.
It was fine to hype up.
Yeah, and Andrade's it's putting him
appearance
as this like sophisticated suave, like he's putting on his expensive jewelry and has got his nice suit on and all that.
This
stuff,
is fine
right?
to build hype for the debut
cool.
of a pretty cool star.
I thought it was cool. Yeah,
Yep.
He looks like a star, man, so far.
Effective.
Yep.
Next we get Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Callis tells Shivani to stop insulting Omega, and they expose the conspiracy
That
goes all the way to the top. I don't know, and like they said, it goes all the way to the top. Isn't Omega kind of at the top of the company?
I don't know what's going on. Did I miss something? People, give us feedback. What did I miss here?
Please tell us.
This is what I mean. They said they'd exposed the conspiracy. When?
What? When did they do it, and what did they expose?
Right. Anyways.
Callis says Jungle Boy's like his theme, a one-hit wonder, which I think was a pretty good burn because it is a real song.
Yeah.
Omega says he knows he's supposed to hype up the match, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, I'm supposed to make you look good and like build up this match for the prestigious championship. And he's supposed to hype Jungle Boy, but he has nothing good to say about him, which I thought was funny.
It's kind of a little inside baseball, right? Like in real good wrestling promos, you're supposed to do this, but I can't because there's nothing good about you. But
which I remember Mox was amazing at that.
It doesn't bother me when Omega does stuff like this because he's just this 100% heel, right?
Right.
So
Omega says he sees a young Kenny Omega and Jungle Boy, but he's missing something. And Callis says Jungle Boy's missing the guts to face Omega. And here he comes. So it's like they wanted him to come.
right. And going back to that, I think the difference with Omega sort of not putting you over in a promo is he's so damn good in the ring, he's going to make you look good there. So if he doesn't make you look strong in a
he's
promo,
the uber heel, so he can't really put you over too much.
but he's going to make you look good in the match, right?
Right, so you're kind of good either way. With Mox,
Yeah.
I think it was like he was really good at putting people over in
Always
promos.
does.
And he does make them look good in the ring, but I think Omega, he kind of more is the in-ring.
And if everybody always does it, I'll get tired of it. So
That's
the
true.
odd person not doing it's okay.
And I'm okay with it if he's like a mega heel.
Yep.
Omega says he's surprised because he's never known Jungle Boy to be a promo guy. He says he looks like he has something to say, but he doesn't because he doesn't have the guts. Omega says Jungle Boy could start a brawl or an amazing promo, but he won't, and nobody's better than Omega on the mic. And Jungle Boy says Omega talks way too much. Omega laughs at that and goes for a cheap shot, but Jungle Boy ducks and attacks. Omega gets a cheap eye rake and takes control, but Jungle Boy gets back in the troll and almost gets a snare trap as the Bucks chase him off.
Right.
Thoughts?
I think the conspiracy thing is either weak or I missed something. So the very rare for me to say I didn't love the Callis contribution here because I don't know what he was talking about, but that might be me. I thought Kenny's promo was really good, and I think this was a decent way to build to, no offense to Jungle Boy, like a minor title defense, right? We don't need anything
Jungle Boy's good in the
huge.
ring, but I don't think he's quite main event yet.
It's just something simple. I could have lived without Callis's bit to start, but I think it worked overall, and I think limiting Jungle Boy on the mic, like he got one line, I think that seems like the way to go at this point.
So I thought it was a good promo from Omega as usual, but the whole conspiracy thing is dumb because one, the whole conspiracy they're claiming exists is that everyone is trying to take the belt from Omega. But isn't that the point when someone's the champ?
Yes.
You try to defeat them, so you're the champ, and so isn't that what's happening? No one claimed there was a conspiracy to take the title away from Mox or Sheeta or Hangman and Omega.
It's a heel. He's being oversensitive. It's
but
a heely thing.
I don't know, there isn't really like, they could try to make it look like there's a conspiracy. And two, like, isn't Omega at the top of the company or close because he's one of the EVPs?
Yes.
So why would anyone plot a conspiracy against him? And if there was one, couldn't he just stop it? Because he and the Bucks are all EVPs and they are aligned.
Just has to make sense to the heels, I guess.
I guess, but like, I really don't see any conspiracy here, even from like a heel logic point of view.
Apparently they exposed it and I missed it.
Right? Anyways, a good promo, but the conspiracy thing's pretty dumb.
Agree.
Next we get quick Jade Cargill Mark Sterling thing. Sterling says Cargill's revenue is up 43%. Sterling says Cargill is a family to feed, and they're making sure that is the way it's staying for a while. They're looking to expand, kind of.
Yeah.
I think, like, across other media.
Yep.
I believe. And Cargill says she's the best because she's that bitch.
I think Sterling's really good, and maybe these two work together. Jade can say less, but do it with more attitude, because he's a good talker, right?
He fits here. I think he was cool as MJF's lawyer that one time, so I think this is a good use for him.
Yeah, it was not very long. I think he did a good job. I had no
problem
with this.
But a little more of the same. Like, I think they need to kind of do more.
Yeah.
We get a quick Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page promo.
They're the Men of the Year now?
Yeah, that's what their theme is called. I feel like that might be their pseudo tag name.
Yeah, it's now working into a catchphrase or a tag name or something.
Sky said Darby couldn't even find a partner, and this is the dumbest thing he's done. Page says actions have consequences, and the physical and mental consequences will be severe. They seem to be called Men of the Year, and it was something in their final line. I don't remember what it was exactly.
They had some sort of rhyming couplet with their...
But this was a good promo. I really like these guys.
Me too.
They're talented.
Thought it was a good cocky heel promo, and I like that they start out with Scorpio Sky all the time, because I'm like, wow, he's actually pretty good on the mic, and I didn't know. And then you get to Paige, who's fantastic, right, and can shift gears between whatever you need.
He can be calm, and then you just can like fly off the handle.
So I thought this was really good too.
I really like it. Next we get Lance Archer versus Jobber named Generator guy.
No idea
Chandler
who it was.
Hawkins.
Oh, is that the name? I didn't.
Yeah,
I just had Archer versus Jobber.
The most like. That's the Jobber name generator right there. Hawkins tries to attack Archer on the ramp, but gets chucked into the ring. Choke slam by Archer. Other offense I didn't quite catch, but there were some like throws and slams.
There wasn't much.
And the blackout by Archer for the win. This was an absolute squash.
Yes.
Like in every sense of the word. And then he just storms off after. Doesn't even get his hand raised.
I thought this is exactly how you do a squash. I thought Archer looked like an absolute monster. the guy selling, taking the, what's it called?
Blackout.
The blackout. His face, like looking terrified as he's sort of up high, knows what's going to come. I thought he did a great job there. And I loved Archer doesn't even wait for his arm to be raised, right? The bell rings and he takes off. So I thought that was really cool and I think this is one of like a perfect squash, basically. This is what it's supposed to do. Made him look like a monster. His opponent looked terrified, and then he stormed out of there the second it was over, because he's now like not wasting any more time. He's not going to play around anymore. He's all business, and he's just going to kill people and leave. And I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was like, this is the definition of a squash match.
It's hard to have a strong opinion on a squash match generally. I thought this was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is, because like you really don't usually get a lot in these. But...
No, but he did it. There was that little bit by the jobber, and then there was that extra bit by Archer just getting out of there that I thought helped.
A quick promo from the Wingmen. I wrote Wigmen.
Yeah, this I would think I was finishing my notes on the previous match, and I barely caught this.
It was Ryan Nemeth,
yep.
JD Drake, who's the guy? Peter Avalon,
right,
and Cesar Bononi.
Right.
Nemeth says they can give Cassie a makeover, the Wingman something program, and either that or Bononi will beat down Cassie. That wasn't the exact words, but I forget.
They'll rearrange his face, I think.
Yeah.
Or sorry, he either rearranges his wardrobe or they'll rearrange his face, I think. Something like that.
This was lame and pointless, and I thought this was setting up an elevation match, but no.
Yeah, I didn't really pay much attention to it. Like I said, I don't know, it seemed okay, nothing exciting. Can't be very important going forward, so that's why I didn't really go back and watch it again, because I can't imagine it's important.
Layla Hirsch versus Nyla Rose. Yeah, it wasn't really much.
No.
Layla Hirsch versus Nyla Rose. There's like a stepping stool on the ramp, because you gotta
make fun of her being
height.
small, which we always say AEW doesn't do, which I like, but I guess this is Nyla and Vicky doing it, so I don't know, heel stuff, but I thought it was kind of
Rose
dumb.
attacks right away, a body slam by Rose. Rose gets a rope break on Hirsch's cross arm breaker attempt. Shotgun dropkick by Hirsch, and Rose is able to intercept a suicide dive and send her into the apron. Hirsch tries to work the arm and gets flung into the barricade. Double knees in the corner by Hirsch post commercial break, which gets her a 2 count. And a German suplex by Hirsch, which was pretty impressive.
Yep.
And a moonsault for a 2. She gets the cross arm breaker applied, but Rose is able to power out. Drapes Hirsch over the top rope, and I swear, if she hit that knee drop, she would have killed her.
Right.
Hirsch gets off and attacks Rose on the top turnbuckle, and as I figured, it was an avalanche beast bomb for the win.
Beast bomb looked pretty awesome, I thought, from the top. I don't think this was amazing, but I enjoyed the match for what it was, right? The size difference was really interesting. Nyla is really big, and Layla Hirsch has to be among the shortest wrestlers there are.
I bet she's like shorter than like Rio. Maybe.
And I think Hirsch is really cool. I thought she looked good for the time she got. Nyla looked impressive too. In a win, I guess, as they're trying to heat her up for the Brit match. But who's the babyface there?
Baker's a heel,
Nyla or
but
Britt?
Nyla Rose also just made fun of a short person's height and is associated with Vicky
So are they
Guerrero.
slowly trying to turn Brit, maybe? Because she's probably going to start getting cheers at some point.
No.
There must be a reason you're putting her in her first title defense against a major heel, right?
But
They wouldn't do that.
Is a major heel.
Is she going to be? I hope she stays that way too, but I feel like maybe they're hedging in case she starts getting
just
cheers.
She's popular.
But...
she shouldn't think she should still. She could be a popular heel, but I don't.
Yeah. Because
then I'm worried she'll kind of go the Finn Balor, Io Shirai route, where they turn heel and become cool, and then people like them for it, but now their faces I don't know. I don't.
We'll see, I guess. I thought this match was decent for what it was.
She was so bad as a face, and now she's
amazing.
Just so good.
Mm-hmm.
A fine match. I thought Hirsch did good, and that German suplex was impressive. I think if Rose hit that knee drop, Hirsch would have been dead. But the Beast Bomb was cool too.
Really cool.
Good for what it was. I agree.
Hirsch needs to join Team Taz. She is basically reminds me quite a bit of Taz from back, just way shorter than you, but a beast, and is going to suplex the crap out of you 1,000 different ways and submissions and stuff. So I want her in Team Taz.
So Britt Baker has an interview. She said she was mad at first, but she says Rose looked good flipping burgers, and Rose should do that full time.
That was funny.
That seems like a heel thing to do.
Yes. Well, and then she also was
criticizing Rose for mocking Hirsch's hype, but I feel like it was kind of insincere though.
Well, and she did one of those Hirsch did a great job, bless her heart. Like,
Right.
basically, like, she's just so tiny. What's she possibly?
Right.
It was a great effort by
Right,
her.
and then she kind of like criticized Rose for mocking Hirsch's height, which like it felt kind of insincere, just kind of like I would never do that.
Yeah, it was.
And Baker says Rose wants the title because the title makes her, but Baker makes the title and this division.
That's a good point,
Yep.
but doesn't help Nyla
Great
to point that out.
Great promo, and again, Baker is on fire. She's doing really great.
Yeah, I thought this was a nice bounce back from the burger thing last week, which I thought was the weakest thing she's done by far. So I thought she was really confident and funny here again, and some of her humor's a little bit subtle, right? She's not clubbing you over the head with it, like that little. Bless her heart about Hirsch. Just the way she delivers things makes me laugh almost every time.
You kind of have to figure that one out.
Yeah,
right?
so I quite enjoyed this. I thought it was nice because last week I
Right.
didn't enjoy it. So this is back to her being the way she is.
Right, which is good.
Yep.
So we got some matches for next week's Dynamite, which is going to be the Saturday one. So we'll probably have to do like a bonus episode for that.
I think probably Sunday we'll spit something out. Saturday and Sunday.
Sure. Keep your eyes out for that.
Yep.
So we do have a Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW World Championship, which should be pretty good.
Yes.
I mean, we know Jungle Boy's not winning, but
it'll be fun.
He's gonna do good at least, right? We have Penta, Kingston, and Kaz versus Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers, which I think is an odd combination, but
a little bit.
That could be a good match. Like Jackson and Anderson are good.
Just barely tag in what's his face, and we'll
Gallows,
be fine. That's the one.
I would like. Instead of one half of the Bucks and the Good Brothers, you do one half the Good Brothers and the Bucks.
And
right?
Give me Anderson.
Right, Anderson and the Bucks.
Yep.
But anyways, and we have the Andrade interview with JR. Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi.
Cesar Bononi gets a lot of time, man.
Yeah, well, compared to like other dark people.
Right.
Yeah, I do find that odd.
Me too. Because I haven't been impressed with him, but anyways.
Yeah, I thought he looked fine in the Darby match, but that's because he got to throw around Darby.
Exactly, and then he sells it like
Ethan
crazy.
Page and Scorpio Sky versus Darby Allin, the Wardlow Jake Hager MMA cage fight, and QT
That
Marsh.
has the potential to be not good, but we'll see.
I think it could be interesting.
It depends how realistic they want it to look. If they try and make it look like real MMA, I'll get bored pretty fast, probably.
That's true. QT Marshall and Aaron Solo versus Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson. And then July 7th, Road Rager, I think, is the strap match between QT and Cody. Although, I don't know if I'd rather watch this tag match next week or the strap match.
At least they're not both on the same week. Spread it out for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
Imagine QT and Cody compete twice in a tag match and then a strap match.
No, thank you.
They had like a 3 stages of hell match. One of them's like maybe a submission match or something with the figure 4, and then they have the tag match, and then they have the strap match.
Don't start fantasy booking more Cody and QT in my life, please.
Oh, I don't want it.
I'm good.
That would be bad. All right, we got our main event, which is Hangman Adam Page and the Dark Order's 10, aka Preston Vance, and versus Team Taz, which is Brian Cage and Will Hobbs.
A whole bunch of powerhouses here. Like even Hangman, right? Like he's not exclusively a power guy, but he's super
deceptively strong.
Yep.
Page and Cage did a bunch of moves where they were avoiding the moves that they were doing, like kind of just like back and forth counters.
Yep.
Cage hit a hip toss backbreaker. 10 tags in as a legal man, and Hobbs hit him with a knee in the back, kind of like one of those cheap shots, like when they're running the ropes.
Yes.
And Team Taz did a double team powerbomb for 2. Hobbs hit a running knee to the ribs of 10. The heels remained in control as they worked on 10. Oh, also credit to the John Report for help with this, because I didn't really feel like I wanted to watch this.
This was really late at night, and it was just like, oh, go to John Report for this match.
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, to him again. Yes. Hook and Bad Neck Ricky Starks came down to ringside. 10 got some offense going with a forearm to the chest of Cage, and Page got sent off the apron. 10 hit a pump kick on Cage and on Hobbs, who was the legal man. Hangman got the tag, and they just spot on the floor with Page hitting a Hurricane Run on Cage, sending him in the ring post, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cage caught like the plancha, and then he tried to powerbomb him, but then Page was able to counter.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah. Hangman tried to pin Hobbs after a forearm, but Hobbs was he had like his arm under the bottom rope, I believe. So he got the rope break kind of. 10 got back in with a pretty nice spine buster on Hobbs. Cage got his like the corner uppercut and like the CCS and Saguri, and then the German suplex, which was awesome. And then Team Taz tried to do like a high-low thing, the clothesline chop block, but Hobbs did not get there in
Hobbs
time.
was a bit late. It was
Right,
more of
so
a
it was
high,
more
not
of
so
a
low.
yeah, all high, no low.
Right.
Hook caused a distraction. Starks once again tossed the FTW title to Cage, who threw it back in the ring, and this is kind of more him
Cage
getting
won't
out.
cheat.
Right, he
Right.
doesn't want to cheat. Similar to Double or Nothing. Starks kind of slapped Cage in the face, and then he got chased to the back, so Cage is now out of the match. Hobbs hits a big spinebuster on 10 for a 2 count, and Page was able to break the pin at the last minute, I must say. It was pretty good. 10 hit a ripcord into a cutter, and then Page hit a buckshot lariat. 10 was able to pin Hobbs to get the win for Hangman and 10.
Right.
Thoughts on the match?
I thought this was a fun main event. It wasn't exactly like a top tier main event by Dynamite standard, but I still enjoyed it. I thought 10 looked solid. I thought Cage looked really good, a combination of power and athleticism. I guess the Cage turn seems to be happening finally. We'll see how that goes with him as a babyface. I assume he's going to start.
Which I do want him in Team Taz, but I think he'll be fine as a babyface.
And I assume he'll start out feuding with Team Taz, which gives him and them something to do, so that's okay. And I like the final image, right, was of Paige drinking beer with the Dark Order. I thought was a cool way to end the show. So I thought this was a fairly satisfying main event. It wasn't like an all-timer for Dynamite by any
we got
means.
A bull rope match last week, though.
It was better. I enjoyed this match. What about you?
Good match and a good main event, although I would have put the trios match last in hindsight. But this is still good.
Agree.
Cage had some great offense, and I was a little surprised when he busted out the tilt-a-whirl head scissors, but and I guess Cage walking off signifies the incoming face turn, which I think is fine. He's always good in the ring. It's just I think his character may take a bit of a hit because he'll be kind of similar like someone like Ricochet, where like he's great in the ring but a little less on the character side. Which
Right.
I think that's fine. He'll still do good.
Yep.
Hobbs crossbody was cool because he kind of didn't go all the way through it, but like
It looked good.
It looked cool.
It did.
Overall, this is a good main event. While not as good as previous main events,
Better than the last
better
one.
than the previous
Yes.
main event, that bull rope match.
For sure.
So thoughts on the show?
After being disappointed last week, but what I thought was a pretty weak show. AEW
Other
bounced.
than the opener.
Yeah,
the
opening
opener
and then learning of
Andrade.
Right. AEW bounced back this week, I thought. Pretty much enjoyed most of it top to bottom. Cody QT segment was my low point, and it wasn't
kind
even
of a
that
standard.
bad. Yeah. I liked every match on the show, even the Archer squash. Enjoyed the Brit segment. Andrade vignette was brief but cool. Evil Uno promo was good. The longer Omega segment was good too, minus the Callus part that seemed to confuse me a little bit. I thought the show flowed really well overall, went by really quickly for me. So I gave it a B+ this week, and I'm just thrilled that like AEW Dynamite getting a C rating is really rare for us, so I'm glad it's not like 2 weeks in a row or 2 out of 4 weeks or
Even
something.
like I think it was like a C+, right? So that's like a full grade above.
It's an anomaly, right? When it's in the C range for us, this is a very quality program.
And
almost
I appreciate that they are able to bounce back so quick, right?
So just a bit of a hiccup last week, back to a really good show this week, I thought.
So the opener was pretty good. One of Cage's best efforts, Christian Cage, that is.
Yep.
And I would like to see more of Angelico in the future, not just on Dark and whatever. I would like to see him on Dynamite more. Even if it's just like if he has to appear in like if TH2 are part of a multi-person tag match and whatever, just like something to see them on the show. Cody's segment was pretty lame. Don't know why we need this grand promo segment just for introducing Arn's kid that he's debuting next week. Could have easily just done a thing where they announce the match. Maybe we have one of those quick videos where it's like we hear like Brock says a few words and introduce himself, right?
Yeah.
Like this was not necessary, but that's Cody for you, right? Like
over
QT
the
was
top,
saying,
buddy. Yep.
Like QT was saying.
Yep.
The trios match was awesome, without a doubt. Match of the night, and across the two
Easily.
shows, probably my match of the week. Because obviously I don't watch as much stuff as you do. But
It might still be for me. I don't think there's anything I like better on Impact, but we'll get there.
Pinnacle segment was good for the parts where the Pinnacle members cut promos. Part where the Inner Circle committed vandalism just because they didn't get what they want felt kind of petty and kind of childish. Especially when most of the Inner Circle had their challenges accepted.
Yep.
So really it just felt kind of mean, like not necessary.
Right.
Miro versus Uno was good. Uno looked really good, but the result was unfortunately never in doubt. Omega's promo was good, other than the weird nonsense about the conspiracy against him. His match with Jungle Boy should be epic. Darby's promo was fine, but the choice to fight a handicap match was odd. And Sky and Paige's promo was great in mocking that. Lance Archer's squash was as squash as it gets, and he was in and out in less like give or take a minute.
Yep.
Nyla Rose and Layla Hirsch wasn't bad, but if given a little more time and maybe a little more offense for Hirsch, it could have shifted into another gear, in my opinion. The main event was good, and while not as good as some other main events, it was improvement from last week, and it's always nice to get some Hangman on the show.
Absolutely.
And another good thing about the match was it provided another development in Cage's slow break off from Team Taz. Overall good show, step up from last week, so I'll give it a B+.
Oh, amazing. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move into talking some other wrestling stuff.
And I believe you do have some coverage of Impact Wrestling.
I do, so let's take a look at any other wrestling business.
Yeah.
All right, so Impact Wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed last week's episode. I gave it an A rating, which was my first for Impact since we've started doing this. So I was really hopeful that this week could sort of build on that or at least maintain that. So let's see. The show begins with a recap of the Iron Man match between TJP and Josh Alexander, which happened on BTI and then sort of bled into the actual beginning of the show proper last week as well. Alexander then had a call for competition after. They also sort of touched on the Omega Callis attack in the main event to end the Moose Callahan match, which is leading us to this summit tonight for the possibility of modifying Omega's championship match at the next pay-per-view.
He would have like another triple threat match.
Right. So that's what it sounded like they might want to do, but they need to talk to Tony Khan about it, and that's what they are going to do right away. So the show opens without a match, which is sometimes not my favorite move. We get Scott D'Amore in the ring introducing Tony Khan so that they can address these issues right away. So Khan is in a suit, running shoes, sunglasses, and unkempt hair. He kind of looks like a kid that went and borrowed his dad's suit to look like a grown-up for this. I don't know if it was intentional or not.
Nice.
But anyways. So the two exchange pleasantries for a little bit. Khan suggests that he should have brought his own microphone, and he's excited about the announcement to be made. D'Amore begins to speak, and Don Callis' music hits, and he strolls out. I love that he always shows up late to these things with D'Amore.
Andy waited till like D'Amore tried to speak. Right?
So he makes his entrance, which I find funny. D'Amore even says, like, look who showed up for work, which I thought was funny too. Callis says Khan and D'Amore are scheming, and Callis is here to remind them of some facts. Kenny is a champion in many promotions around the world. Moose is a great athlete. And then there's Sami Callihan, which I thought was a pretty funny insult too. He and Omega are not afraid of Callahan, but if you look at it as an investment, Sami is blacklisted across the country for his violent, unpredictable behavior. He even mentions the bat attack specifically to Eddie Edwards years ago. So
yeah,
basically
that.
saying
That
like,
was good.
why would you want, like, your investment is in these other guys. Why would you risk hurting your investment with Sami, which kind of makes sense. D'Amore points out that Sami was a victim of violence at the hands of the Good Brothers, and technically, the Good Brothers' involvement gave Sami the win in the match last week. Callis talks again about how dangerous Sami is and how many men he's taken out. He and D'Amore have had meetings about Sami's violent nature as executives at Impact. D'Amore hypes a Moose versus Omega match and says there's no need to bring in a sociopath, among other insults, like Sami into what could be a great Olympic-level match. Khan speaks, talks about Daly's Place being the best place for wrestling right now, and Kenny's greatest accomplishments have happened at Daly's Place, and that's where Khan wants the Moose Omega match, and Sami will not be there. Callis loves that idea, obviously, wants to end the segment right there, but D'Amore sort of interrupts and says that Moose will face Omega one-on-one, and it will be at Daly's Place, but the winner will then face Callahan at Slammiversary. So I thought Callis did a really good job here of putting over Sami Callihan, right, as this just unpredictable, violent guy that they don't want their investment to get close to. D'Amore was really solid. I thought Tony Khan was by far the worst, and he seemed a little awkward and not very comfortable on camera, but he's not on camera as much, right? So that kind of makes sense here.
Yeah, that's fair.
I am also confused. So it appears that they clarified this later, the commentary team, so that's why I do know. So the Against All Odds match with Moose and Omega will be at Daly's Place. So that's tonight, I believe. And the winner does face Sami at Slammiversary. So that is
Moose could get like a real big time entrance now.
It wasn't entirely clear, so they did clarify it here. So this was about a 10-minute long non-wrestling segment to start the show, which isn't my favorite move. I thought it was fine though. Could have been tightened up a little bit, and I'm a little this is what I'm wondering, right? Slammiversary is a much bigger show than Against All Odds. So, but at the same time, Moose Omega feels like a much bigger match. So my only question is, does this then look like Moose takes the belt from Omega tonight? Because wouldn't you want to save Moose and Omega for the larger stage? The only thing I can think about is that they want their title back for Slammiversary because it's one of their biggest, if not their
But
biggest.
then wouldn't it be bigger if someone from their company won the title back on that show?
That you would think as well. But it's kind of, I feel like this is the wrong order. The biggest match is Omega Moose. So I think that should be at Slammiversary, but we'll see where
I
they're
would
going.
agree.
So it's still Josh Matthews. I thought I'd let you know. He and D'Lo then summarize and clarify what just happened because I thought it wasn't clear, so I needed this clarification. I don't know if other people did as well. And then they run down the card for Against All Odds, as well as some of tonight's matches mixed in. So Gia stops the Good Brothers, Omega and Callis backstage, and they are obviously still upset about the results of that opening segment. Callis tells the Good Brothers to take out Callahan and get rid of him altogether as Scott D'Amore approaches and interrupts. The interrupt theme is still strong this week. D'Amore has issues with a corporate VP in Callis using bounties and putting hits out on people. So he makes a match with the Good Brothers against Callahan and a partner of Callahan's choosing, and it will be a street fight. Callis's group obviously starts freaking out about this as the segment ends. I don't think there's anything wrong with the segment, but they put it really close to the opening one. I think there still hasn't been a match on the show at this point, so I don't think this was ideal. You could have saved this interaction for a little bit later in the show and let the opening segment breathe, as they say. So still lots of people walking up and interrupting on Impact, I see. So that seems to be a motif of theirs.
Never change Impact.
We joined Brian Myers for Chapter 2 of his How to Be a Professional, and it is about communication this week. So it still involves the youngster Sam Beal, and he asks Beal what a pro wrestling promo is. Beal says it's just an interview. So Myers disagrees. So his disagreement, right? It's not an interview. Myers says, no, it's not. It's when an interviewer asks you questions with a microphone, which I thought was funny, right? Because it's like, he just can't let this kid who he's mentoring be right about anything, right? Because he's the expert about professional wrestling. So even though he's just saying the same thing in different words, I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, it's like the line from the Goldbergs where like Murray's like, it's cheaper, it's more affordable, and it costs less.
Yeah. He then says a match is a promo and a promo is a match, and that Beal should be writing this down. And Beal actually does have a little notebook with him. Myers wants Beal to cut a promo about a fictitious match against Cardona right then and there. So Beal starts his promo. He puts over Cardona at the beginning. Myers interrupts Beal. And Beal says that's what he thought he was supposed to do. Build up his opponent so that when he wins, it's more impressive. So I liked his explanation there, right? Because he's not saying build up your opponent so he looks good because we're all in this together. It was build up your opponent so that when you beat him, you can brag more about it. So I thought that was a nice way of not going too far behind the scenes of wrestling, right? Myers thinks that's horrible advice and that when he wins, it's more impressive. He thinks it's horrible advice and that Beal should just bury Cardona right away. He walks away shouting insults about Cardona. So I kind of think these segments are funny. I think Myers does a really good job, and I don't know, the dynamic between him and Beal isn't bad, and it gives Beal something to do. So I'm somewhat entertained by these still. D'Amore is seen talking to the camera about Callis putting a bounty on Sammy. He mentions the match he made as Sammy interrupts. Another interruption. He thinks Scott D'Amore has screwed him because who would partner with Sammy? And I like this. Sammy's self-aware. He's basically like, who in their right mind is going to partner with me? But at the end of the day, he says he'll fight 1 against 2 if he has to. And then we get an interruption. Hard to believe. It's Tommy Dreamer. Dreamer does the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing, and since Callis is both of their enemies, Dreamer agrees to partner with Sammy. Sammy accepts, but if Dreamer fails, Sammy will beat him down too. D'Amore and Dreamer talk some more. Something with Dreamer telling D'Amore that Callis is his enemy, basically. Sammy's good in this role. I've really liked him lately. Dreamer was fine. But match-wise, Dreamer doesn't add anything in terms of interest for me in this match.
That's not nice.
And then I ask, will there ever be wrestling on this particular show? Because there hasn't been yet, and we've done a whole bunch of stuff.
I didn't even think of that.
Will Scott D'Amore be in virtually every segment tonight was another question. So let's find out. We actually do go to a match. It's Rosemary versus Havoc. And for this one, there's a bit of stakes. If Havoc wins, she's in the title match at Against All Odds. So this is a really short match where Rosemary started out fast. Havoc dominated the middle. Rosemary wins at the end with 2 spears. And Havoc was really screaming a lot during this match, I noticed. Perazzo, Lee, and Susan come out after and attack both
Who
Havoc.
was it that would always scream a lot? I don't remember.
They attack both Havoc and Rosemary. Susan gets a mic, calls them freaks, and calls out Tasha Steelz to face Kimber Lee, and Tasha obliges and comes out. So this match was really short. It kind of made Havoc look weak, right? Because she's almost in contention for the Knockouts Championship if she can win this match, and she pretty much got crushed here, pretty clean. She lost in like 4 minutes clean, so not much I can say about it. It's another Impact 4-minute match. Brief, fine, I guess. And I put here, that's not nice. R.I.P. last week's Impact. This is not great so far. So that match happens. Kimber Lee versus Tasha Steelz. Steelz starts out fast. Lee takes control, dominates much of the middle match, just like what I said about the previous one. Tasha got her knees up on a off the top rope senton attempt by Lee. Then shortly after, Steelz hits a Falcon Arrow, which was cool, and gets the pin from that. And I thought that was impressive because Tasha Steelz is really small. Kimber Lee is not, and she hit her with a pretty nice looking Falcon Arrow. So arguing in the ring turns into brawling. Rosemary and Havoc arrive to take out Lee, Perazzo, and Susan. Rosemary hits her finisher. It's like a wing clipper, basically, on Perazzo. Hogan gets double choke slammed by the other two. There's a ton of yelling by Hogan at ringside and the heels. This match was decent, a little bit longer than the first match, but sort of similar in structure, I thought. Lee looked better than she usually does in this one because I've never been super impressed by her, but she looked pretty good here. She did take the loss, but still looked better than usual, I thought. And it was just another match in this show to get to the post-match angle. It seems to be sort of what's going on here. Macklin, FKA Steve Cutler, it's his second little video here where he talks about seeing and doing many things. I think he's referring to his time within the military, this idea that he's sort of troubled by things he's done and seen. He then gets really angry and says his back is against the wall and it's do or die. And either he will meet Mr. Mayhem or we will. So I don't know what he's referring to there.
Alter ego with cool face paint.
And I'm not sure this made a lot of sense, and maybe it's not supposed to yet, so I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. But I think Macklin's delivery and intensity are really good here, so I'm kind of interested to see where they go. And it's kind of like Impact, right? So there's a 50-50 shot that it's going to be something good or not. Josh Alexander is with Gia. She asks how he's feeling after his Iron Man match with, oh my gosh, who was it? TJP last week. He said he feels great and has been waiting 16 years for that opportunity. He is the Iron Man of professional wrestling. That's not a bad gimmick to go with, and he might be. He told D'Amore to line up challengers, and he'll knock them all down. He'll keep a close eye on the 5-way at Against All Odds as well. Ace Austin interrupts. An interruption, hard to believe. And as a 2-time champion, he gives advice to a 1-time champ, which I thought was a cool little line to include there. Don't worry about watching the tag match involving the other X Division competitors tonight, because the only one he needs to worry about is Ace Austin. Alexander finds this amusing coming from a guy he's beaten recently. Right? So I thought this was a good segment. Alexander is good as the fighting babyface ready to take on anybody, and he's better on the mic than I thought he was, because when you're teamed with Ethan Page, you don't say much. You don't
need to.
And plus, Alexander has that look, right, where he just looks like he was basically like a silent assassin, right?
Walking weapon.
The walking weapon. Austin is always really good, and I would love a bunch of matches between these two, regardless of what the story is behind it. So the basic idea is everybody else that's going to be in that match has a match tonight, except Ace Austin, and Ace is like, that's why you don't need to watch the match. I'm the only one you need to worry about. We then move to that match, which is Petey Williams and Trey Miguel versus Chris Bay and Rohit Raju. So it's all the members of the X Division #1 contender match, participants minus Austin, in a tag match here. So the finish came after about 9 minutes when Bay had been taken out on the floor. Williams hits a slingshot codebreaker to Rohit before Trey puts him in a submission and Rohit taps out. Austin and Fulton attack everyone. Alexander comes out to help. Alexander focuses on Austin as the other 4 sort of work over Fulton. They set him up in the corner and Petey hits his super destroyer to Madman Fulton. Alexander's music plays as he stands tall to end the segment. This match was really fun. it's hard not to be with these four guys, right? Really fast paced, really fun, easily the most interesting division in this company, just like it kind of was in its heyday, right? The X division was sort of their crown jewel, and it's kind of looking that way right now, just because the main belt isn't even on the show, right? Which is part of Josh Alexander's point. He's kind of representing Impact right now because he's the biggest champion that actually works for that company. So there were no real stakes or reason for this match other than to get them a little bit more exposure before the pay-per-view, but I still enjoyed this. It's four talented guys getting minutes on TV to showcase what they can do, and most of them can do a lot. So this was probably my highlight match-wise on this show. Gia then asked Willie Mack about his match against Morrissey in the main event tonight. Tonight is a no DQ match, so Mack will beat him pillar to post, and even if Morrissey takes him down, Mack will take a piece of Morrissey with him. Swan speaks up and wants Mack to save some of Morrissey for him. Swan will always have Mack's back, but Mack wants Swan to stay in the back tonight no matter what, and
He'll always have his back, but he's staying in the back.
Swan reluctantly agrees. I don't know. Willie Mack's promos are never great. Designed basically just to remind us of the story between these two, so it was fine. Nothing special. We then get to Neil Dashwood, and I think what is the third installment of her All About Me show that I've enjoyed so far. Caleb says that this will be the best episode yet. Tennille tells us we should follow her, but then she's like, but you probably already do, which I thought was a good little line. Right? Her host this week is Rachel Ellering, who brought Jordan Grace with her. It gets kind of awkward because Caleb, they didn't plan on Grace being there, and they tell her there's no room for her, and she should probably just go wait outside. But Grace says she's fine to sit on the arm of the couch, and she does. Caleb pulls out a t-shirt with he and Tennille on it, but it turns out that it's for Tennille since she's the guest on the show, right? So it's for her. Things are awkward as Rachel isn't really saying anything, and Tennille reminds her that Rachel is the host and she needs to ask some questions. Rachel then asks, why is she here? And Dashwood says that the question is, why is Grace here? Ellering says Grace is her teammate and that she's had enough of Tennille disrespecting her and her partner. She starts to challenge Tennille to a match at Against All Odds, but Grace interrupts and she wants the match instead. Tennille wants her to put it in the form of a question because they're the hosts and they're supposed to be asking questions. Right. So Grace storms off to talk to D'Amore about it instead. Caleb and Tennille are sort of left there awkwardly to wrap up the segment on purpose, though. It was awkward because it was supposed to be awkward. So I still like these segments. This one might not have been as strong as the others, but Grace interrupting Ellering and taking the match feels, again, like another baby step to a Grace heel turn that I think could be really cool, and they've been really slowly teasing for weeks now. And just again, I've said it before, Caleb's really grown into this role. He was super awkward and not good in this role when it started, but he's quite entertaining now. They've come a long way for me. We're then told and shown that Crazy Steve defeated Diener on BTI before this episode of Impact.
The most major show.
I guess the idea was they've both been trained by EY and Crazy Steve. Like, Diener just can't win, right? So then we get a Violent by Design promo. They are the tag champs, and at Against All Odds, EY puts his faith in Diener to defend the belt, so Diener will be representing the tag team champions. He's lost a ton lately. We will see Doring face Edwards later. He puts over Eddie Edwards as the heartbeat of Impact, but says that the heartbeat is sick and needs to be removed. The sickness has spread to the world, and he calls out Kojima, puts him over briefly, but Doring will take all of his gifts from him. The world belongs to them. Standard VBD promo.
Why would the world belong to them if they lose?
A lot. Well, they got the tag belts now, so they started winning, I guess. Another good promo from Young. It means more since they actually have accomplished something. Like we're saying, they do have the tag titles. So
although they did kind of Money in the Bank them, though.
They did. Then we get Joe Doring versus Eddie Edwards. Eddie really seems to have no direction lately and is just kind of thrown into various stories and situations, and I can't imagine he gets a win here against Doring, but let's see. Doring dominates early with basic holds and power moves. Violent by Design intimidate the ref from ringside and want him to count faster. About 4 minutes in, Diener tries to trip Eddie, gets caught by the ref, who calls for a DQ to sort of anticlimactic finish at this thing. Just basically on a trip attempt. DQ, it's over. Violent by Design attack. Kojima has to come out for the save, clotheslines Doring over the top onto the floor. Violent by Design hold back the furious Doring as the baby faces stand tall in the ring. It was a pretty standard, resilient, undersized babyface versus the overpowering monster heel match. and then it was just cut short by an early DQ. I thought this was pretty much a waste of time, an excuse to get Kojima on TV one more time. That seems like what's going on tonight, right? Is here's one last thing where nothing meaningful happens. There's beatdowns at the end, and let's get to the pay-per-view. Every match tonight feels that way. The match is secondary to the stuff happening afterwards, and it's not a good thing for me as a person watching the show. Moose speaks in a sit-down video. Impact title has evaded him so far. He'll finally accomplish his goal at Against All Odds. He lost to Swan. He took Swan for granted. At Sacrifice, the better man won, he admits. If he had been in the main event at Rebellion, he'd be the new Impact and AEW champion. He says that Impact doesn't have his championship, and then the segment just kind of ends. It cuts off, and I thought it was fine, but it really felt like it was like cut short somehow. I don't know. It's strange, but I thought he was doing a good job as he usually does in his promos, but it just kind of ended. So to run down Against All Odds, my first note is too many matches with caps lock on it. I think there's 9. Ready? Jordan Grace versus Tennille Dashwood. W. Morrissey versus Rich Swann. Kojima versus Doring. Street Fight, Good Brothers versus Callahan and Dreamer. Impact X Division #1 contenders match. Petey Williams, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Rohit. Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Fire and Flava against Susan and Kimber Lee. Impact World Tag Team Championship match. Violent by Design, which will be was Doring and Rhino, but I think we're getting Diener instead, versus Decay. Impact Knockouts Championship match. Purrazzo Rosemary. And the World Championship match with Omega and Moose that will take place from Daly's place, apparently. So the main event now, it is Morrissey versus Willie Mack in a no DQ match. And I'll say it again, Morrissey is in ridiculous shape. And my comment is, Vince may have never let him go, no matter what issues he had, if he looked like this. Because Vince would just be like, he's really tall and incredibly muscular. I don't care what he does. The no DQ stipulation did not come into play until Willie found a chain and used it to punch Morrissey's midsection. A chair gets used by Willie as well, and later on by Morrissey. Are you looking for a pencil? I dropped it. Here you go. Morrissey drags Willie to the corner, sets him up with a chair on his face. Oh, sorry, I missed the part where the finish. Morrissey wins when Mack comes at him with a chair. Morrissey boots it into Mack's face and earns the pinfall. Morrissey then drags Willie to the corner, sets him up with a chair on his face. Swan runs in, lands a bunch of kicks to Morrissey as security come out to break things up. Morrissey escapes briefly and squashes Swan with a corner splash. As Morrissey leaves the ring, Swan hits him in the back with a chair, and the two stare at each other as the show ends with commentary hyping Against All Odds. If I'm being honest, I thought this main event was pretty boring. Morrissey works really slowly anyways, and when he has the opportunity to go find weapons to use, he's kind of even slower. Felt like an early use of a stipulation for much deeper feuds than this. Like there wasn't really much backstory to this. Basically, a really slow DQ match where the result is never in doubt, and all they really use is a chair. One nice flurry near the finish by Mack, but this match was nothing anyone needs to go and watch, I don't think. So overall, I thought this really took a giant step back from last week. Last week, there was basically nothing I didn't enjoy, whereas this week I struggled to find things I liked. So kind of the opposite, unfortunately.
Right.
The X Division match was easily the highlight of the show.
Odd, because it's kind of like the opposite thing with AEW, where it wasn't great last week. And then...
Exactly, reversed. So like every other match on this show, the X Division match had little point other than to showcase talent before the pay-per-view, but at least this match was fun to watch. The opening summit was decent, a bit long, and unclear what the result of it was before commentary clarified it for me. Meyer's segment was fine, Tennille's segment was fine, Macklin's vignette was kind of interesting, but none of the matches really mattered. The entire show felt like it was just filling time to the pay-per-view. Like they finished their build a week early and then realized they had another week of TV to do, right, before the pay-per-view. Totally a missable show. I give it a C this week. After an A last week, that is a very disappointing development. So a C for Impact this week. Do better. Hopefully the pay-per-view is interesting, which I hope to get around to watching. I might not get to it today, but in the future.
Right.
All right, so other thing we need to cover is your rewind match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that.
So we got number 16. We got Rollins versus Lesnar from SummerSlam 2019.
Yes.
Which was the one that took place in Toronto, the last live fan SummerSlam, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was and we went to
Canadian.
We went to Takeover the night before.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And you know that it's a Toronto crowd because they're pretty hype and still.
They were.
And it's a main roster match.
Yep, they were a good crowd for this.
So some corner and shoulder blocks by Lesnar.
Before you start, sorry, I just wanted to say I think that Brock is such. I know you're not a huge fan.
I think if he has the right opponent, he's.
But he
really
is such
good.
a unique talent and an amazing monster heel that the right babyface, right, can look fantastic in matches against him. Every Brock match already has a built-in story. He's a massive favorite and nobody's going to beat him, right? And anyone facing him is immediately an underdog. And Rollins fits into that beautifully here, right? So that's what I love about Brock.
Yeah.
There's an instant story because how the hell are you going to beat him ever?
I think that's why all of his matches against smaller opponents have excelled, like Balor and AJ and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And when he cares and when he has a good opponent, he's good. But it's because he doesn't care sometimes and he just gets paid a bunch to just go off. I don't respect him as a person, but
I kind of respect it because he's like, I'm that good. I can do that.
Yeah, but
and you guys will still throw money at me next time.
It's stupid.
It sucks. It's kind of jerky, but I'm almost like he's earned that. Like he's just that good.
I don't think he has earned that. It's just he went to UFC, became mainstream, and then just like
that's what they love about him. People outside of wrestling know who he is, and that is Vince's number one thing.
That's probably part of the issue too.
Yep. Anyways, go ahead.
Corner shoulder block by Lesnar after an early attack attempt by Rollins.
Yeah, no holds and counters, right? No. Straight into it here.
Which is probably for the better.
Well, it didn't get much time, right? So they don't have a lot of time. This is like 12 minutes, right?
I think 13.
It was straight into fighting.
Rollins gets driven in the opposite corner, more shoulder blocks, and another corner. Super kick by Rollins. Rollins flips out of a German suplex, which he does that so good.
And all of this, right, is to Rollins' injured midsection.
After some previous attacks, I believe.
Everything Brock does right off the bat is targeting that injury, and it all looks really good, right?
Right.
Yep.
And so he flips out of the German suplex and hits a curb stomp right there for
which
2.
Was awesome. The crowd bought into that near fall right there because there was
because their first match at Mania was really short. Cause remember, there's like the pre-match attack and Rollins kind of got the low blow and then.
Yep. No, this was a cool near fall.
Running knee strike off of the apron by Rollins, and Rollins flips of another German suplex and hits a pair of super kicks. But when he goes for the stomp, he's caught and hit with an F5.
Yes. Stops Rollins cold with an F5.
Right. And Lesnar lifts Rollins and spins him around by his rib tape, which is so funny.
First of all, for full marks for the rib wrap for not ripping, and just like, this is the power of Brock Lesnar.
Imagine if it had ripped, that would be
like Seth Rollins is a 220-pound man.
Seth Rollins is not a light man.
And he's just picking him up and swinging him around by a piece of fabric. Right,
like a freaking
incredible.
Child.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. 3 German suplexes by Lesnar. A German suplex on the outside by Lesnar, which
with the crowd counting them, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guarantee you there's the guy with like the signs,
the tally
counting. Yeah. That I remember that was funny.
And Renee's on commentary for this, right? And I love Renee, and I think she's incredibly talented in many capacities, but commentary wasn't one of them.
Yeah, she was okay. Like, but the effort was there.
She's so much better in other stuff.
The effort was there.
It's not my favorite. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a German suplex back in the ring by Lesnar. Yeah, and I think she was one of the better interviewers they had.
Yeah.
Along with probably Charlie Caruso.
For sure.
I missed Kathy Kelly.
And even on like those pre-shows and stuff, she's really good.
Yeah.
I don't like the panels,
she had to deal with
good.
Sam Roberts and Coach and Booker T and JVL and sometimes Jerry Lawler. Yeah.
Right. She's great.
Rollins rolls back to the outside and Rollins sends Lesnar face first in the ring post twice. Back in the ring, and springboard knee strike by Rollins. Lesnar avoids a knee strike from the top turnbuckle and hits a big release German. And a big, just like a standard suplex, but he kind of got the release on it, so still kind of chucking him.
Of course.
Which I thought was cool, because like, you don't see suplexes like that often, right?
And Brock's just a beast.
Right. A bear hug of sorts by Lesnar, but Rollins able to get a rope break. Lesnar chokes Rollins on the second rope with his knee, and then Heyman shouts at Rollins, "If you give up now, we'll all respect you for it."
Yeah, that's one of the ones
I thought that was a nice touch.
I wrote that down,
That was really funny.
Yep.
Rollins avoids a corner attack, and Lesnar goes shoulder first in the ring post. Single leg dropkick by Rollins sends Lesnar off the apron. 2 suicide dives by Rollins, and Lesnar's able to catch the third and ram Rollins into the post. And Heyman had another nice touch here, whereas Rollins was running the ropes. You could hear Heyman shout, "He's on the move again."
Yep.
And maybe that helped. If that helped play into Lesnar's counter, I think that'd be really cool. And it was kind of like when you were talking about Michaels and Undertaker in that match where Michaels was targeting the legs and
Right.
he kind of landed the moonsault on the
Yes.
legs, right? So it'd be
The
kind of like
details.
that.
Yep.
So I thought this was really cool, and I wouldn't have noticed this the first time we were watching, because I don't think I have watched this since.
It's funny, I wrote down the same
we
two
watched
things
this.
Heyman was saying that you
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
I don't think we've watched this since.
No. I don't think
I
so.
remember the SummerSlam was pretty, like, it was like 3 hours, because I remember we
Yeah.
actually watched the whole thing.
Yep.
In the one night. Lesnar uncovers the announce table, but gets to the super kick to put Lesnar laying on the table, and Rollins hits a pretty epic frog splash through the announce table.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
And another frog splash in the ring, followed by a curb stomp for a near fall. And the crowd is really into it, which really does help.
Yes.
You don't see that much on the main roster, I find.
Yeah, hot crowd for sure.
But that's a Canada crowd for you.
That's right.
Lesnar avoids the stomp, but Rollins gets out of the F5 and hits a super kick. A curb stomp falls, and Seth Rollins wins the Universal title.
Shockingly wins, right? Because you just see Brock as this unbeatable monster.
And his face is like a tomato after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought commentary, I'm going to give them credit. They did a good job of making Brock feel unbeatable throughout this. But I guess it's not hard when it's him. But I thought they did a good job of sort of making it even more surprising that Rollins, and impressive that Rollins wins. Heyman is such a valuable guy at ringside. His facial expressions are amazing. The things he's yelling, because he gets picked up on the mic, even with the crowd there, he's so loud. I think, and when Brock is selling, right, and the look on Heyman's face is so awesome. I think it adds to Brock's overall presentation.
And Brock actually yelled in this match
He
without
did.
sounding like a high-pitched pig.
This, I thought, was a terrific match. Lots of fun to watch. A brilliant, like, monster heel versus talented fan favorite who's going to have to, like, pull out all the stops to have a chance. We get a hot crowd. No waiting for action as this match starts out right away. Heyman's amazing performance at ringside. Brock's crazy-looking power moves. Seth flipping out of some of them. His resilience. His own offense looks really good. I thought made it fantastic. Brock is booked so strong that a win like this for Rollins is a much bigger deal than almost any other win he'll get, right? Because Brock just does not lose, and lose decisively as well. So this was only about a 12-minute match, and these guys it was pedal to the metal almost the whole time. There was one break where it was the bear hug by Brock, but even that makes sense.
That was like really short too.
And he's targeting the midsection, so it makes sense. It
and
doesn't
I think
bother me.
That was like maybe the last
it was
10
super brief.
seconds-ish.
Everybody involved in this played their role pretty much perfectly, I thought. I give it an A-, only losing a couple marks because it's a really short match. But I thought this was fantastic and shows, like, this is why Brock is amazing, I think.
What a match. Proof of the main roster is capable of creating good matches sometimes.
Yep.
Crowd is hot here, makes it so much better, really adds to it. Rollins is amazing here. It's nice to look back at a time where he was performing amazing in the ring. He was popular and interesting, because right now he isn't interesting or popular.
Nope.
And his matches have deteriorated a bit.
And the crowd loved him here.
Right, and like this is just before he kind of fell off a cliff.
Yep.
When he flips to the German suplex, it always looks cool, and it looks perfect.
Yep.
Some of the super kicks he really nailed, and Lesnar must be given credit for some of the selling too, because when Rollins flipped out of the second German, and then caught Lesnar with the super kicks, it really looked like Lesnar was like coming at him and got like halted by the super kicks, right?
He became a really good professional wrestler when you're right. He might
when
be a bit
cares.
right when he wants to. Yep.
Right. That's probably my issue with Lesnar is like sometimes he just doesn't care. Right. Like that street fight with Ambrose.
Yeah.
Is a thing that comes to mind, but he did good here.
Yep.
The part where Rollins gets flung around by his rib tape was funny. Great, just like power showing from Lesnar. Lesnar's German suplexes are great, especially when it's a release German suplex and you can just shock him. And we hit the normal suplex, but still had the release. I thought that was cool because that's just not something you see. Usually, like they kind of hang on to the suplex.
Right.
The announce table splash was pretty epic as well. You don't see that often. And this was kind of a short thriller of a match.
It was.
Which plays to Lesnar's strengths.
Yep.
Heyman also added a lot and kind of helped Lesnar to telegraph the suicide dive. And they're just a great duo in general.
Yep.
Overall, a great match, and I love this, so I'll give it an A-.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm. If it were like 20 minutes, I'd probably go A, right? But I don't know though, because the 12 minutes almost it worked so well.
Well, maybe if they had been given more time, maybe they could have done more. Right. Maybe this is perfect. But
yeah, it was very, very good match. I recommend it. It's available on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out.
They just put it out, I think recently.
All right, well, I don't have anything else to cover in any other business, so let's transition into our final segment of the week, and that is going to be where Jack talks a little bit about wrestling figures in figuring it out with Jack.
So I got just some stuff for AEW Unrivaled 6. Just like they revealed on I think it was Ringside's Instagram the packaging images and whatever.
Right.
So we got Penta and Phoenix, which is from Fight for the Fallen 2019. So it says on the back of the boxes for AEW figures, which is helpful. We got Hikaru Shida and MJF from Double or Nothing 2020, and Chris Jericho and Jake Hager from Revolution 2020. And then so the 1 of 5,000 Chase variant Jericho is from Dynamite, October 9th, 2019. And the rare 1 of 3,000 variant Jake Hager is from Dynamite, April 15th, 2020. Or just remember the Falls Canadian match.
Right.
Again, or No Holds Barred, whatever, against Mox.
Yep.
And I find it interesting. The attires are 2 from Fight for the Fallen 2019, which is Lucha Bros, 2 from Double or Nothing 2020, Shida and MJF, and then Jericho and Hager, the normal ones, are both from Revolution 2020, and then Jericho and Hager's Chase rare variants are from Dynamites, which I think is kind of odd. Like, pairs are from same events, which I think is kind of interesting, but it's a cool set because the Lucha Bros are in black and gold, which looks awesome. Jericho's black and like kind of yellow, and MJF's also black and gold. And so, yeah, it's a cool set. I like it. Nothing much.
Is that it?
Yeah.
A very brief figuring it out this week. That's okay because we are approaching 3 hours of a very long podcast. So that's going to bring us to the end.
I'm going to, I think, Toys R Us tomorrow, so hopefully that'll yield something for figuring it out.
Yeah, so that's going to bring us to the end of episode 47. I imagine there's going to be some bonus content coming out from us this week. So
Takeover tomorrow or today or
whatever.
This weekend?
We got an Impact pay-per-view. We got a NXT pay-per-view.
We have Dynamite that's on Saturday next week, so that'll force a bonus episode.
So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled for wherever you follow us or look for our podcast. You'll see stuff when it comes out. So we really appreciate any of you taking a little bit of time out of your week to listen to us talk about wrestling. We look forward to seeing you back here. I'll probably do ROH on Monday, and then we'll see what else.
There's that too.
I may mix it in with some other thing, you know what I mean? We'll see how it goes and how much time we have. But yeah, just keep your eye out for any stuff coming from us. We appreciate any listens you give us.
Yep.
We'd love to hear any feedback from you. Feel free to contact us. And I guess we'll see you when we see you, whatever the next podcast is.
Probably pretty soon.
Yep. And until then, take care.